Hello, 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 folks. How we doing? Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope y'all are having a great day. It's another chilly day outside where I live, so perfect day for a stream, I think. Folks, we're going to get started here in about 1 minute. I will see you all shortly. Oh my goodness, we got a lot of folks, early birds today. Welcome, everybody. Hey, Fathin, good to see you. I have been well. I hope you've been doing well also, Fathin. Feyre, thank you so much. Welcome. And the timer has counted down, and I've been waiting for that countdown to finish because I wanted to thank Feyre for the sub. I saw your sub notification pop in just before I started the stream, so thank you so much, Feyre. Great to have you here. Welcome to the stream. Oh, thanks, Fafin. What were you right about, Fafin? Oh, I get it. Thank you. How's everybody else doing today? How's my audio levels? Can everybody hear me okay? I'm still tweaking my new mic stand that I've got here, so sounds good. Thank you, Farah. Alrighty, and also I have a lot of new followers to thank as well who signed up to follow me in between streams here. So we got Barnesarella, Miss Synthova, Cam Floral, Ashlank, Goblin Matron, Cairo Kiss, Johnny Drama, Jesus Grice, Tilda Phil, Dare MTZ, Bumder, and a ton more. But those are the folks that followed me yesterday, I think after Madeline's shout out in their stream yesterday. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. If you're on the 100 Devs Discord, you might have seen a ping from Leon yesterday to go check out Madeline Patient's stream. They are celebrating their 1 year stream anniversary, so we all kind of went and rated them, and it was a ton of fun. Hey, Icon, good to see ya. How's everybody else doing today? Like I was saying earlier, it's pretty cold outside again. You know, last weekend it was freezing cold, and this weekend it's freezing cold too. So, what better way to spend a chilly day than inside and streaming? Oh my goodness, Faffin, thank you so much for the bits. You're packing for a move, just happened to see me come online, but you'll be lurking for a while. That's awesome. Hey, so many folks like to lurk in my streams, and that's perfectly fine. I am happy that they're coming here to spend a few precious minutes of their day with me. And I always appreciate it. We got folks that cook while I'm streaming. We got folks that, yeah, they're moving house. They're just chilling. It's all good. Hey, chaotic. Hey, hot babe. Good to see ya. I'm doing fine. I hope you are as well. Copper Lily. Hey, welcome. All right, so today is going to be a chill stream. I had another plan for today's stream, but the API I was trying to use to build the project, yeah, kind of fell through. It advertised itself as a free API, And then when I actually started digging into it and really trying to pull information from this API, it started giving me results that said upgrade to premium, like actually in the JSON that I was getting back from the API. So I was like, yeah, hell no. Like, we're not going to use something that's going to be bugging people to upgrade to premium every 30 seconds, every time they hit it. So I'm working with the maker of that API to see if we can't get some kind of a to see if we can't like filter out the premium options. Oh, thank you for the follow, Mana. Good to have you here. Yeah, it was super weird. I've never seen that before in an API. Like normally in an API, they're like, okay, this is what you get for free, right? And then there's a cutoff, and you can get more if you pay for it. So I was expecting that from this API, and then they're actually saying like, no, we're going to give you everything, but we're going to bug you about upgrading actually in the JSON. And we're gonna like paywall stuff in the JSON. So I've never seen that before in an API, and I was really bummed about it. So I'm communicating with the person or the group that made the API to see if there's some way we can't just filter out all the premium crap and only return free results, so that I can do it on stream. That would be great publicity for their API. Hopefully. The Norton antivirus method. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I got to turn on stream closed captions. Give me one moment. Get that. All right. Give captions. Yep, captions should be running. If you want to turn on closed captions, if you would like closed captions, hover your mouse over the right side of your streaming window, just up here, and you'll see a closed caption icon. You can click on that and enable closed captions. Hey, Cherry, welcome to the stream. My stream schedule right now is every Sunday, so today, at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So once a week. I do hope to increase that here in the near future. We'll see. When the new 100 devs cohort starts up, I hope to be streaming more often, but I don't know what that schedule is going to look like just yet. Yeah, Copy Lily. I really want to use this API. I really want to use this API. I really think it'll be a lot of fun. The project, and I'll tell you guys a little bit about. Oh, good, Jerry. Yeah, I would love to have you here. Hey, Matthias, good to see you. Yeah, the project I want to build, a little preview here is um, I love plants. Like I have a lot of indoor plants, but some of them I'm better at taking care of than others. Weirdly, I suck at taking care of succulents. Like so those desert plants that like never need water. Like I don't know why, but I can't keep succulent plants alive. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can keep plants that need more water alive. Hey, Muse Flare, welcome to the stream. Um, Succulent, yeah, exactly. But so I was looking at these plants, and I was looking at my plants today, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if there was an app that would allow you to input your preferences and your home environment? So, like, you know, how much sunlight do you get in your home? Do you remember to water your plants? Do you have pets that might try to eat your plants, right? So you wouldn't want anything poisonous. Because I, back when I had a cat like of my own, somebody gifted me a plant one time, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I put it on my countertop, and my cat would always go up on the counter. And I learned later that that plant was actually poisonous to cats. And so I was just lucky that my cat never ate any of it, right? Um, so yeah, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if there's an app that allowed you to put that kind of thing in, and then it would return a list of plants and photographs of those plants, right? And then you could click on the plant and get more information about it to see like, okay, how big does it get? You know, would this be a good fit for my home? And I found an API that does all of those things, but it's got this stupid paywall in it. And you know, ads for premium in the JSON results. And I'm like, I actually started building the application. I got pretty far along in building the application before I noticed what the API was actually spitting back at me in some of the JSON. And so that's why we're doing Codewars today, because I had was putting a lot of time into this thing I was trying to build, and then I realized that the API wasn't going to cooperate with me. So yeah, I kind of had to pivot a day of and be like, all right, nope, it's a Codewars stream today. But given that I think it's a good idea for a project, and given that um, hopefully, I mean, hopefully the group that built the API can work with me a little bit, and then we can, get this project done, because I think it would be a lot of fun to do. Let's see. I gotta catch up with chat here. Y'all are buzzing today. Good to see you all. I'll share the API's name if if I can make a little progress with them. I'll share that once I can make some progress. Copper Lily says, I killed my succulent when I moved far north of Florida. Oh no. Yeah, I have a hard time with succulents, like keeping them alive. I don't know why. I told my dad about it, and he was like, "What? Like, how do you kill a succulent?" He's got like a whole shelf of them, and they're mocking me. Hot Babe says, I'm doing great, thanks. Started working with React and TypeScript while using Copilot and ChatGPT. It's like having a senior developer and an assistant to speed it all up. Yeah, when you're first starting to dip your toe into a new framework or a language, ChatGPT can be a huge help. Yeah, in explaining what stuff is doing. That's kind of how I got into C Sharp when I had to start building applications for work in C Sharp and .NET. I'd never used that before. I'd never used C Sharp, .NET, any of that. Um, and never worked with building desktop applications for Windows. I'd previously only ever done web development, and ChatGPT was a big help in helping me understand what the heck is going on and how to build stuff. Oh, Planta? Okay, I'll check that out. Thank you. Hey, Ahmed, good to see you. Muse says, wait, plants need water? This explains nothing. That's actually something I'm going to include in my app that I'm working on, is a setting where you can basically say like that you can be honest and be like, I never remember to water my plants. And so hopefully then what you'll get back in the results is just really hardy plants that, can take a lot of abuse. Yeah. Horses are pretty dumb. I grew up with horses. I love horses, but yeah, they are fragile creatures, definitely. Horses really are not meant to exist. Yeah, they are power strong. They're terrifyingly strong prey animals that will jump 10 feet in the air at a plastic bag blowing across the road, and um, could collapse your chest with a kick. So yeah, they're interesting creatures, definitely. All right. So what are we doing today? Hot Babe says, I just signed up to Codewars. Are we all going to use it today? Yes. So if you want to follow along, you can, absolutely. Or if you just want to hang out and ask questions, like I said, today's going to be a chill stream. You can ask questions, about whatever, roughly related to, they should be. So if you're new to the stream, we got some new folks here today. Keep things roughly on topic to, tech, or getting a job in tech, or about me, or whatever. And keep things polite, be nice to each other. I know you all know the drill. You guys are great. So yeah, so we're going to be doing some Code Wars today. And what is Code Wars? If you're not familiar with Code Wars, it's sort of a it's a website that offers coding questions or coding challenges, and it does it in kind of a gamified way. So you can train yourself on, say you want to get better at like array methods, right? Or say you want to get better at manipulating strings in JavaScript. So you can essentially just rapid fire practice a ton of questions on array methods or JavaScript strings over and over and over again. And as you do it, you earn points and you rank up in levels. Generally, you'll start out at what's called 8 Qs, so level 8, which is the lowest level. And then as you answer more questions, you get more confident. You can progress up in the levels. So I'm a 4th Q level, but we're not going to be practicing 4Q questions today. Those are too complex for a chill stream, right? What we're going to work on today is mostly the methodology for problem solving. So I've seen several folks on the 100 Devs Discord and in Leon's 100 Devs huddles, the question and answer sessions, where they come up and they're like, yeah, like I read this stuff about JavaScript, I read stuff about array methods, and I feel like I understand the material, but then I go to solve a question or answer a question or do a challenge or get into an interview, God forbid, and they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to apply any of this stuff. And so we're going to look at some questions today, and it's going to be less about who can get the answer first and more about how do we talk through the problem to figure out how to solve it. And also, how would we talk through this problem in an interview as well? Fourth cue katas are the opposite of a chill stream, very sweaty. Yeah, we're not going to do those today. Hey, engineer, good to see you. Oh, no worries. Good to have you back. Yeah, horses are great. We were talking about the horses a little bit earlier. Yeah, they're great creatures. I love them genuinely. I grew up with horses, but gosh, yeah, they are. They're money pits. They're expensive. Yeah, Ahmed says ChatGPT is really helpful with some of the wording in documents. It's a great tool to ask questions about a particular tool. Yeah. Oh, Copper Lily, thank you so much for the sub. Also, too, I want to thank Farah and Copper Lily for the subs. I gotta give you the special sub screen. Thank you both so much for subscribing. It's great to have you both here as always. Um, and you're both very cool people. So thank you so much. I need to put some music on this screen too. I need like a little like I don't know, little jazzy fanfare that plays. I'll work on that. But thank you both. Matthias says I got addicted to Code Wars. It fills my Anki deck so efficiently. Yeah. Um, the the risk with Code Wars, right, is that doing coding challenges is a lot of fun, right? And it really helps you practice these methods, but it's not the only part of getting a job. So you could be, a 1Q in Code Wars. You could be the best around. No one's ever going to keep you down. But when you go into an interview, if you don't know how to actually explain what you're working on and explain what the problem means and how to approach it, you're I mean, that's not going to get you anywhere, right? If somebody says, oh, can you reverse a string for me? And you go up to the whiteboard and you just do it in 3 seconds and you're like, okay, I'm done. You're probably not going to get the job, because that's not really what they're looking for in an interview, right? They're looking for both knowledge and how you communicate, how you work with a team, how you interpret project requirements. It's a really multifaceted thing that they're going for there. Um, and so yeah, so it's less about knowing the answer and it's more about how you get there. Feyre said, "I'm still very much in the dread phase of Code Wars." Well, hopefully we can cut down on that a little bit. Yeah. Oh, Chocolate, thank you so much for the follow. Good to have you here. Muse says that's a good thought. Can you explain a good method to turn a Code War kata into an anti card? Oh, I assume you mean Anki card. Yeah. So the turning it into an Anki card is more about breaking the problem down into, okay, what is the essence of the problem, right? So if what is the problem trying to go for, right? Is the main goal of the problem to reverse a string? Or is it to split an array? Is it to convert something to binary, right? What is the essence of the problem? And then so that would be the question that you put on the front side of your Anki card, right? How do you reverse a string? And then the back side is the method that you would use to do that, the array method you would use to do that. Or, I forget what else I said, convert something to binary, right? Then you would put on the back of that, you would put the method to convert something to binary. So kind of breaking it down into the essence of the problem. What is it actually trying to get at? Matthias says, personally, I don't consider a kata solved until I have at least two different solutions. Yeah, sure. That's a great way to go about it. Oh, Ahmed, you're on a 5 stream streak. That's awesome. They say, have you tried LeetCode? I have, yeah. I actually have been doing LeetCode for SQL. Many of you know that yeah, and actually, Chocolate just asked the question. I was just going to say, so my day job is not as a web developer. I do not write JavaScript. I don't get paid to write JavaScript, never have. I don't get paid to build web pages or anything like that or use React. My day job is as a SQL developer. I build what's called ETL pipelines. I work with a big data warehouse. So giant databases, multiple databases all together in a data warehouse for a major university here in the United States. And so, yeah, my day to day work is very different than what I do here on stream. And so I've actually started doing leak codes for SQL, to try to reinforce my SQL knowledge, challenge myself a little bit, get think more outside the box with some of the my SQL knowledge. So I have been doing leak code for SQL, just not for JavaScript. Yeah. It's confusing. The Ahmed says leak code is confusing sometimes, but easy questions are like 6, 7 Q. Yeah, it's leak code is harder than Code Wars, and that's why we're doing Code Wars today. Chill stream, uh, but yeah, it is fun. Yeah, my day to day as a SQL developer. Yeah, so like I say, I build ETL pipelines. And a lot of my day to day is really just maintaining the data warehouse. So maintaining pipelines, maintaining documentation. Once you get hired as a developer, a lot of what you're going to be doing actually is not writing code. A lot of people think you're just going to be head down coding all day, unless you're working for yourself. In my experience, that really hasn't been the case. A lot of what you do is project planning. You're in meetings, you're maintaining documentation, you're reviewing other people's code, you're testing stuff, and then occasionally, yeah, you're building something new. But there's a I would say maybe 60-40 in favor of like documentation, administration, meetings, working with coworkers, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's less coding than you would think. But what's nice is I work from home, so I'm fully remote, and I generally, I have a it's a nice I have a it's an 8 to 5 job. I get an hour for lunch. I do have to go on call every 2 months for a week. So I have to. I've been called while I've been called on stream before. Like you all have seen, I've gotten a call on stream and I had to end a stream because I got a call about something being broken. But it's really not too bad. It's fairly chill. I got good coworkers. It's good stuff. Fafin says, how close to BI or data analytics is the work that I do? It is extremely close. Yes. So what I do actually supplies the data to the data analysts in all the departments at the university. So we structure the data and get it into a form that the analysts can use, because a lot of the times the data that you get out of a source system is garbage. It is hot garbage. I can't even convey to you how bad a lot of the data that we get is. It's just, it's not readable by humans. It's, got a bunch of, you know, missing records and all sorts of things. It's needs to be converted into, into a whole other formats and all this sort of thing. And it needs to be combined together into data sets that analysts can actually use. And so I came from data analytics originally. I was an analyst for about 10 years before I became a developer. So it's very much in my lane what I do right now. And I understand the importance of data and good data for analysts to use. Yeah. DJ says, "Can you teach SQL as well?" I have. Yeah, if you head over to my YouTube channel, so exclamation point YouTube, will get you a link to my YouTube channel, and just search SQL. Go to my channel and search SQL. I have several streams about SQL. We work through SQL problems. I teach you the basics of SQL. I teach you how to build Supabase database. Your own SQL database and tables. Yeah, we do a bunch of that stuff on my YouTube channel. Chocolate says, I just did a SQL course last semester, but I've never actually looked into what SQL developers do career wise. Yeah, it's actually a great field, because the thing is, SQL is kind of like, it's like an underdog. It's like a sleeper language a little bit. It's everywhere and you just don't know it. It's been around since the late 1970s, and it's showing no signs of slowing down. So it is literally in literally pretty much every system and tool that has a database attached to it, you're going to find SQL. And so you need people to write that SQL and maintain that SQL. And so if you don't, I'm not saying go work with SQL as full time like I do, but if you're a full stack developer or a web developer and you know SQL, employers are going to love you, because you're going to be that person that can actually like query their database and get results, and then figure out this is how we should build our API to get these results, right? You're going to be the one that can actually dig in and pull back the data. So definitely learn a little bit of SQL, just enough to be dangerous, and you're going to be more hireable, in my opinion. Cherry says, "What did you do before 100 devs?" The same thing I'm doing now. I was a SQL developer before I started 100 devs, and I still am. But it's nice to. I went through 100 devs cohort too, and I learned how to do web development, which has been a ton of fun to do in my free time. So yeah, I'm still doing the same thing I did before 100 devs, but I would say I'm having more fun now. Hey, Seed, welcome to the stream. Aw, thank you. That's very nice of you. Faffin says, "Do you do a lot more cleaning data than you would have expected?" I'm a sysadmin. That's awesome. Which is honestly a lot more cleaning up dirty systems than I'd have expected. Yeah. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is when they get into tech, and they get their first dev role, is that a lot of what you're going to be doing is not writing new stuff. You're going to be maintaining legacy code. Everybody's favorite thing in the world, digging into code that somebody wrote 10 years ago, and that person has left the company and nobody knows what it means, and they're going to put you on it to go and dig around in the code and figure out what it does, how it works, and how to add features to it. So yeah, a lot of it is cleaning up dirty data, cleaning up dirty code, correcting mistakes, that kind of thing. It just happens. Yeah, it's. I think it's a. I would be curious to hear from other developers out there if that's been your experience too. If you're at a corporation that has been around for more than like a year, you're going to start getting tech debt. They call it tech debt. You get legacy code in the system. It needs to be updated. There isn't any documentation for it, and you just got to figure it out. Matthias says, "Will you teach SQL next 100 devs cohort?" Um, I will say I will be teaching SQL most definitely in my own streams here on the side. There may be the opportunity for me to add some content to the main cohort, although I'm not going to speak definitively about any of that at this point. Hey, Ellipsis, good to see you. Floats in jQuery all day. Woo! Yeah. Another thing that a lot of people get wrong about being employed as a dev is that they think, oh, I always have to keep up on the newest technology. Like I have to know, like I have to really understand the most recent releases of React and all the most recent features in whatever stack you work with, right? Or I have to keep switching stacks because this other stack isn't popular anymore. Well, the thing is that corporations, they're going to be like 10 years behind in any given point, maybe more. um, and they're going to be using old frameworks. They're going to be using old systems. They're going to be using old code because it's stable, and it would cost a lot of money and man hours to upgrade. So you don't have to always chase the new thing. What's important is to be good at the fundamentals and good at your stack. Yeah, as Lipsis says, they're still looking for PHP developers. Yeah, absolutely. A ton of the web pages and the systems at the university I work for, they're rocking on PHP. I saw a job posting from my university looking for a PHP developer a couple weeks ago. Yep. Hey, chaotic, good to see ya. Yeah, as Hot Babe says, that's a great way to put it. It's a mix of new development, maintenance, and legacy conversion. Yep. And a lot of times, new development is smaller than you would like it to be. Yeah, exactly, Faf. And a lot of cleanup, a lot of follow up, a lot of working with customers. Yep. And that's another thing. You got to be good with people too, or at least passably okay talking to people. You can't just, shut yourself in your cubicle or virtual office and never talk to anyone because that's not how business works. Ah, Sirius, thank you so much for the Prime
Serious
sub. I
Scaper
appreciate it.
just
Always good to have
subscribed
you
with
here.
Prime. Hi.
Great to see you. Christian says, "Will there be another 100 devs cohort?" That I can say yes, there is going to be one, and it's going to be very soon. If you're interested in joining the 100 devs cohort, and if you're new to the stream and you're like, "What the frick is this 100 devs that she keeps talking about?" 100 devs is a free, and I want to emphasize free. Way to learn web development and get a job as a developer, especially if you're new to tech. If you are working in another field right now, if you're a teacher, if you're a nurse, if you are in food service, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anybody can learn web development, and anybody can get a job in web development. And you don't need a CS degree. I don't have one. And anybody can go through this course, and it is free. So if you're interested in that, you can check out our Discord. If you do, I'll do it in chat here for y'all. Give you some links. Go check it out. Make your own decisions. Again, there's no barrier to entry. There's no cost to this. This is a purely free program. It's hosted on Twitch. I am not the main instructor. The main instructor for it is a person named Leon Noel. But he is also on Twitch. The lessons are on Twitch. The lessons from the past cohort are on YouTube. You can watch them for free. You can educate yourself. And the next cohort will be starting very soon. Matthias says, when I started 100 Devs 12 months ago, I started inspecting pretty much every website. Floats are pretty modern compared to all the table-based websites I've seen. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? People get all freaked out. They see, they see these companies posting their new frameworks and stuff on Twitter, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have to learn that. Or people will be on YouTube being like, you can't get hired unless you know, I don't know, Astro or whatever. And no, that's not true. I'm using a language that was developed over 20 years before I was born, and I'm fine. So yeah, you're gonna be okay as long as you know what you're doing, and you can demonstrate your skills in an interview. Then you'll be fine. Oh, and Sirius, I need to give you the special subscriber screen. Thank you, Sirius. Sorry, I didn't do that. I was on a roll. Yes, and you subscribed for 6 months. My goodness, thank you so much, Sirius. I love having you here, and you're very cool. Hey, Leo, good to see you. Matthias says, people skills are scary, but we can learn it. I'm socially anxious and I can talk now. Absolutely. It's a process, right? You're not gonna be automatically good talking to people right away. People often say things like, oh, I'm anxious, I have anxiety, so I can never do an interview, or oh, I can't ever talk to people. I'm not minimizing anxiety. I have anxiety. What I'm saying is that it's a skill that can be learned, just like playing an instrument, right? If you sat me down with a guitar in my hands right now, it would be the worst dang guitar playing you ever heard because I don't know what I'm doing. But it's all about practice, slow integration of skills, right? If I was learning to play the guitar, you wouldn't, put me up in front of an audience like immediately, right? I'm just gonna would start learning, what to do with my fingers, right? And so it's all about slow integration of skills, practicing regularly, and also being kind to yourself too. People, and me included, I'm guilty of this. People will really beat themselves up if a social interaction doesn't go well, right? You think about it in bed, you think about it in the shower, you'd be like, oh gosh, why are you such an idiot? That kind of thing. And what's important is to try to be mindful of those thoughts and turn away from those thoughts and think about how you can do better next time and what you can do to improve. So, just my little crash course on getting better at social interaction. Yeah, as Fafin says, there's still those antisocial and abrasive and difficult and curmudgeonly tech workers out there, but they're always on the chopping block. They only ever stay employed so long as they're not worth replacing, and that's a pretty limiting career choice. Absolutely, yeah. And a previous role, not where I currently work, there was a person who was an absolute genius, like an engineering genius. And this person was so good at just visualize in the field where I was at that time. They were so good at just visualizing what to do and how it should look, and just amazing, but they were also not a good person to relate to or talk to. And eventually that sunk them. They were asked to leave the company because they just couldn't mesh with the people at the company, even though they were an absolute genius. It just didn't work, right? And so those social skills are the other half of the equation. And as Strain says, becoming an engineer is very much language or tool agnostic. More important to get the problem solving and troubleshooting skills. They're all transferable to whichever tool a company is going to pay you to use. Absolutely, yeah. So, like, I started out with SQL and knowing only SQL. But now, I'm learning React, I'm learning C Sharp, I'm learning JavaScript, HTML, CSS, Tailwind, Bootstrap, Astra, whatever. And it's all transferable. Yeah, it's all transferable. It's more about, okay, can you approach a problem? Can you solve a problem? Can you persevere? Can you embrace frustration? Can you get past imposter syndrome? That kind of thing. And just kind of jump in and learn whatever. C Sharp, .NET, doesn't matter. Chocolate says, being in retail customer service forced me to be able to talk to pretty much anyone, but I still get nervous being the first to approach. That being said, once you start talking to people, just stay relaxed and don't get too much into your own head. Yep. And again, it takes practice, right? Oh, try hard. Thank you so much for the follow. DJ says, can someone realistically work as both a full stack developer and in the field of data analytics, perhaps be good at the two? So, I mean, that's kind of what I do. I work in a field right now, in my day job is in a field that's very close to data analytics. I'm not a data analyst anymore, but I still do a little bit of that on the periphery. And I'm doing web development here on the side. So yeah, absolutely. When you get into that realm, ideally it would be great to get paid for both. So you could do that being a freelancer web developer. And you're kind of almost getting into the field of data science there a little bit, where you're a highly skilled coder and then also highly skilled at analyzing data, and statistical methods and that kind of thing. So data science is a really high paying field. I never got into data science because I'm not great at math. So that was a little bit of a barrier to me. Also, I'm not going to say that that's a barrier, because the you practice something, you can get into it. I don't enjoy pure statistics or pure mathematics. I just don't enjoy it, and so I decided not to pursue that. I do love analytics though. Love me a good graph, man. Give me an Excel spreadsheet and a graph, and I am happy. I can spend a day, like a full day, just picking apart data in an Excel spreadsheet. It's great. Kadavare, thank you so much for the follow. Hot Babe says, I passed the JavaScript test on Codewars. It took way longer time than I'd like to admit. Awesome. Good job. Ellipsis says, do you work remotely? Yeah, I do. And it's great. I'm never working in a freaking office again. Um, some people thrive in an office environment. I do not. I'm easily distracted. I have ADHD, and having random coworkers buzzing around all the time, having people pop into my cubicle, was just hell for my concentration. So having people sitting behind me and like potentially looking at me over my shoulder is just, I don't like it. So yeah, remote work is the way to go for me. Mohammed says, Mine Wolf, I've been learning JS and React for 4 months, I guess. Do you think it's early to learn to do you think it's too early to learn backend like Next or what? No, learn it whenever you want. I mean, learn whatever helps you build stuff, is my opinion. Learn whatever helps you actually build projects to put in your portfolio to help you get hired, or to help you find your next career progression, or to help you build whatever dream project you want to build. Learn whatever it takes to help you do that. There's no wrong way to do this stuff. As long as you're learning and as long as you're building the whole time, then do whatever you got to do, man. There were people solving advent of code problems this year using pivot tables in Excel. More power to them. I love a good pivot table. Excel is my favorite, man. I cannot say that enough. Like, Excel is like the best piece of software ever created, and fight me, because I love it. Marco, thank you for the follow. Liz, do you use a lot of analytics tools? Not in my current role. In my previous role, when I was an actual data analyst, I did. Now, what I do is I supply the data to those analytics tools. So I use data pipeline tools to build data pipelines to put data into those tools and make sure that data is right. So I use tools. I mostly use Informatica and PL SQL Developer at my work currently. Informatica Power Center to build pipelines, and PL SQL Developer to write SQL. We use Oracle at my employer. So yeah, we use there's lots of different flavors of SQL. We use Oracle SQL. Um, I've used several different flavors of SQL in my career. Just Oracle is what my employer uses. And so, again, this was mentioned before, but no matter what stack or tools you're learning now, when you get hired, you're probably going to have to learn a whole new bunch of tools because it's going to be whatever your employer decides to use, and you're going to have to learn to use that. It's probably going to be a mixture of off the shelf tools and bespoke internal tools that a developer built for the company. So you're always going to be learning new tools. Exactly. As Strain said, the best language to program in is the one you get paid to do, right? Yep. Habib says, few weeks with only training these exercises is just what I need, I guess. Yeah, yeah. It's good to practice. Liz says, and good afternoon. Oh, good afternoon to you too. Mohammed says, thank you so much. No problem. DFDX says, are you in a Codewars clan? Yeah, I am. I'm in the Codewars clan for 100 devs. I don't remember what it's called. It's got a really long name. It's weird. If somebody remembers, you can drop it in chat. All right, let's go ahead. There's a bit of a pause in chat here, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll do a couple code wars, but we're going to keep chatting. We're going to keep going back and forth, answering questions. We're going to, like I said, chill stream today. Just hanging out. Oh, thank you, Matthias. Thank you for sharing that. Clan is 100 devs. Yeah, the clan name is hashtag 100 devs space dash space leonnoel.com/twitch. Enjoy typing that in. Oh my goodness. Vaughn says, want to ask you and Leon separately. I recently applied for an internship and interviewed at a company, aced the tech interview, good job. And meet and greet with the principal engineers went great, good job. They said they'd follow up with an offer, but instead declined my application, citing I didn't have enough experience, but no further explanation. When they hit me with that at the beginning instead of the end, yeah. So, I mean, that could be due to a variety of things. It could be just that maybe they lost their budget for the position. Maybe they had a candidate who came in with a crap ton of experience. There could be so many reasons, right? It could be so many reasons. You could, follow up and say, hey, is there anything I can improve about the interview process or whatever? But I mean, that's a kind of a I'm not going to say the word, but you know the word. Kind of a bad move on the part of the interviewer, but it's going to happen. They're just going to be like, oh right, we don't want to go with this candidate. We're just gonna, all right, let's find a reason to give them. We'll say okay, we'll say they didn't have enough experience. Sure, that's fine. But that may or may not be the real reason. But it could be a ton of things. I would chalk it up to saying, wow, you did great on the tech interview. You did great on the meeting with the, what do you say, with the principal engineers. So that means that you're ready to do another interview. Like somebody else can pick you up and you're going to be ready to jump right in and ace that interview too. So I wouldn't stress about it too much. It's nothing you did wrong. Telling you that at the very end means that, yeah, you did great. And they just decided to brush you off for some reason, but I wouldn't take it personal. Definitely. Leon might have some more advice on that line. I would definitely follow whatever he says, but I imagine he'll probably tell you something similar. Not your fault, kind of a crap move on their part, but it sounds like you did great, and so you're ready for your next interview. Yeah, exactly. And then I've been on the other side of the interview table a few times. And as Lisp says, um, Lisp says they're a hiring manager, so listen to them, right? This stuff really happens, changes in budget, yeah. So it could be that your interviewer, like they were ready to hire, right? And then suddenly their department head comes in and says, actually, wait, we're getting our budget yanked this year, and so they you can't have another position right now, and they just pull it away. And that, I mean, that happens. I've seen it. And so yeah, definitely it could be anything, and you're probably never going to know. Yeah, exactly. And they could have had somebody that just came in like a wrecking ball, right? Like crazy, crazy good experience, asking for a low salary, like came in being like, I desperately need a job. You can pay me whatever you want. And then of course they're going to go with that person, right? So yeah, nothing against you at all, I'm sure. Great question though. I'm glad you asked it. And also, uh, Vaughn, feel free to you can always come to the next 100 Devs stand up as well. Sorry, huddle on Tuesday and raise your hand and ask your question there as well. I think that would be great for folks to hear if you're comfortable with doing that. Oh my goodness, time enjoyed. Good to see you. Wow. Hello. Oh, and Madeline. Hello. Whoa. Extreme Apple fan. I love that name, by the way. Great name. Welcome, folks. Hip Chick, welcome to the stream. Yeah, let me know. Is anybody else having issues with lag? I hope not. Hey, time enjoyed. I gotta raid you back sometime. I think you've raided me like twice now, and I haven't been able to raid you back. Hi, raiders. Indeed, welcome. What were y'all working on today? What were y'all up to? We're having a chill stream today. We're talking about career stuff. We're talking about working in tech. We're doing some simple code wars. We're talking about how to solve the problems, not just what the solution is. So feel free to hang out and chill with us if you would like to. We're having a grand old time. All right. Well, now that we got this incredible audience from Time Enjoyed, thank you so much. I'm gonna give them a shout out. Uh, shout out, Time Enjoyed. See if that works. Yay! All right, and also shout out to Madel. I spell it wrong every single time. Madel. Patience. Oops, I did that wrong. One more time. I spelled it right and everything. There we go. All right. Go follow both of those amazing people right now. Yeah, we're doing 7 and 8Q Code Wars today. We're not getting crazy. We're not going super hardcore today. We're just hanging out. Stream Apple fan, thank you for the follow. And Rich, thank you. Yeah, that's right. Rich, thank you so much for the follow. Perfect for a Sunday. Yeah, let's do it. All right, let's jump in. So we've just been chilling and talking for the last 45 minutes. We haven't done anything yet. So Raiders, you are coming in on the ground floor. We've just been hanging out. All right, so I had a few specific questions I wanted to hit because I feel like they're good practice for specific methods and specific, specific I don't know concepts that you might get asked in an interview or something like that, or stuff that's a little tricky that we might forget occasionally. We like to hang. Awesome, yeah. Time enjoyed, totally. How's your birds doing? Time enjoyed. I miss seeing those. That's why I gotta raid you again. All right, all right, we're going to do this one first. We're going to do a classic first. And you're also welcome to follow along and do these alongside. If these are code words that you haven't done already, then go on and go do them along with us. Submit the answer, get some points, rank up in Code Wars. That's totally valid because you're going to be coding along with us. All right, so the first we're going to do is reverse strings. This is an absolute classic, and many of you probably know the answer. But again, the goal here is not to immediately be like, "Oh, I know," and just write the answer down. The goal is to approach the question logically and think through what methods we're going to need and talk through it like you would in an interview. So that's what we're going to try to do here. Oh, Momo is newly obsessed with videos of himself. Oh, that's so cute. I love birds. I'm not I don't have my life together enough to actually own a bird, but I like watching people who do own birds. I'm not responsible enough to own a bird, I don't think. They're too smart for me. Oh, Hot Babe, Code Wars, we're on codewars.com, and I put the URL for this specific question in the chat. If I forget to do that on another question, please ping me and I will. So this is the one we're working on right now. Yeah, link. Yep, just follow that. As long as you're logged in, it should let you solve it. You've already solved this one. Yeah, the first few you might have already solved. Once we get up into some 7Qs, maybe they'll be new to you. All right, so description. What are we going to do here? We're going to train again. Go to that. All right, so complete the solution so that it reverses the string passed into it. All right, so let's talk through this a little bit. We're going to use, you've done over 800. Yeah, you've done a lot. Holds up a mirror to the screen. Yeah, that's one option. Absolutely. Um, and if you and that's another thing too. If you're in an interview and like you're kind of vibing with the interviewer and like things are going well, you might inject a little humor too. You can always make a joke if you feel like they're gonna be okay with that. That can kind of make everybody laugh, can kind of get you all on the same page a little bit. So let's think about this. All right, complete the solution so it reverses the string passed into it. And we're going to use the prep method for this today, which is anybody familiar with prep method in approaching interview questions? Does anybody remember what it stands for? Booze, thank you for the follow. And Steamy Crimson, thank you for the follow as well. Good to have you both. Anybody remember what prep method means? I'm going to take a hydrate real quick. Pseudocode is part of it. Returns. We're piecing it together. Teamwork. Yeah. So PREP stands for parameters, returns, examples, and pseudocode. And when you go into an interview, you're not going to say like, "Oh, I'm going to use the PREP method to solve this." You're not going to do that. But what you're going to do is talk through each of those things in an organic sort of a way. Yeah, exactly. Code. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, you're going to talk through it in sort of an organic way. So you're going to approach the problem and have a conversation with the interviewer. So you might say they might give you this question, complete the solution so it reverses the string passed into it, and you'd say something like, okay, yeah, so what I'm seeing here is that we're going to be passing in something like um, we're going to be passing in something like a word, like an English word. It looks like, and it's going to be in regular English left to right order. Okay, and I see some examples here where you're showing me that um, if we pass in an English word in left to right order, what you want me to return is the same word, but in right to left order. So last letter first, second to last, second to first, etc., and then the first letter last. And then what we can also do here in the case of Codewars specifically is we can look at some more edge cases, right? So these are like happy path, right? You pass in an English word, and what you get out of it is that word spelled backwards. But what happens if it's a single letter? What happens if it's an empty string, right? What do they want to happen? And so those are the types of things you would ask the interviewer specifically. If they gave you this as the examples, you would say, okay, yeah, so I think I'm understanding what you're asking for here, but can I ask about some edge cases? What happens if we try to pass in an empty string? Is it always going to be a string, right? Are you ever going to be giving me numbers? Am I going to have to do any type conversion or anything like that to get this to work? Are you ever going to try to give me an object or an array? What happens if it's empty? What happens if it's a single letter? And so hopefully they can give you some input on what those edge cases might be, those examples might be. And in this case, we can look down here in the test case box and we can see the two examples they gave. And then if it's an empty string, looks like they want to return an empty string. And then if it is a single letter, then we return a single letter. Okay, cool. Madeline says, I feel like I do prep with my team lead every time I get a new ticket. And that's the point. Yes, you have made the connection between being in an interview and being in the role. That's why they ask for these. That's why they want you to demonstrate these skills, because that's what you're going to be doing on the job. That's what you're going to be doing every single time you get a ticket at work, right? You're going to be wanting to say, all right, they gave me one example here in the ticket, but that's not enough for me to actually investigate this. You're going to need to go back to the customer. You're going to be like, can you recreate the problem? Can you try passing in this? Can you try passing in that? What happens if we do this? That's literally prep. That's what you're doing. And that's why that showing those types of skills in an interview can make it happen for you, right? It can put you up on another level. There's always going to be edge cases. It's always going to be, well, it works on my machine and then it doesn't work on the user's machine because they have drivers that are 5 years out of date, right? Something is going to come up. And you've got to know how to investigate that. Yeah, Faf, and I love that sentiment that you expressed. Absolutely. Keep grinding, give yourself some grace. 100%. 10x says in Python it would be a word -1. Yeah, that's awesome. Talking out loud. Yep. Got to talk out loud, talk it through. Leads are always asking about edge cases. And yeah, when you're actual dev, they're always going to want to know about edge cases. There's always holes you can find before you even start. It saves some work. 100%. Yep. Matthias says, convert to ASCII, sort it high to low, and make it a string. Inefficient but fun. Sure. All right. So if as we're sort of taught, so I think we're kind of at the pseudocode part of prep right now, right? We're kind of in the pseudocode zone. So what are some potential methods that might help us out here a little bit? If we're being given a string, we're probably going to want to deal with some methods that are compatible with strings. So what are some methods that might be able to help us here? Ninja says, sorry, what was the last P in prep again? It's pseudocode. So the P is silent in that word. Yeah. So it's parameters, returns. Sorry, I'm using a different keyboard today, so it's going to be a little awkward. Examples, pseudocode. I broke my keyboard during the week, and so I am using the keyboard from my work computer right now, and it is not going well. Yeah, my nice clicky keyboard is broken, unfortunately. Yeah, 10x. So yes, we know that that's the thing. Going into this, yeah, most of it I think already know the answer to the problem, but it's more about how do we approach this in a methodical way and talk through it, and how would we approach this in an interview? So yes, yep. Yeah, yeah. So there's some methods that are going to help us here. Things like split, things like reverse. I mean, legit, right? There's a method for that. And join. Those are three things that are definitely going to help us here. So if I was in an interview, I'd start to say like, okay, so I think there's some array methods that are going to help us here. When you're working with strings, the cool thing is that when you're working with strings, you can use a lot of the same things that work for arrays. And so I think the first thing I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to take this word, such as your first example there, world, and I'm going to want to essentially kind of split that up into its individual letters so I can work with each of those letters individually like this. And then what I want to do is I want to take that and I want to essentially just flip those around. And it's if we're treating this like an array, I want to essentially take that array and reverse it. So I want to turn it around to D L R O W. All right. And once I've done that, then I essentially just need to join it back together and turn it back into a string. So DLROW, like that. So in order to do that, we can use some of these built-in methods that exist in JavaScript itself. We don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We don't have to make it too hard on ourselves. And we can do it all in one step. So we won't need multiple steps for this, right? Because we can put these methods together and do them all in one step. So if I were to do this, we're passing in, I can see here that my parameter that we're passing into this function is called str for string. So I'm going to say string and then dot because I'm calling a method here. So I use the dot notation to invoke a method. We say split. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm performing this step, splitting it. And then the next thing I'm doing is I'm going to reverse it like so. And then the last thing I need to do is turn it back into a string by saying join. Now, this join method, I could potentially put something in here. And what this aspect of the method is asking for is what is the delimiter that you want to use when you join this back together. So we could potentially say something like dots or commas. But in this case, if we want it to be a single word, we don't want to have any delimiter. We don't want anything separating our letters anymore. So I leave this as an empty string. All right. And then the last thing I need here is my return statement to actually return something. And yeah, that should do it. It should take in a string, it should split it apart, it should reverse it and rejoin it. Now, another thing I'm doing here is I am using something called chaining. And what that allows me to do is invoke multiple methods off of the same object here. So I'm calling each of these in sequence at the same time. Well, one after the other, I should say, but in the same step. So I can have my return immediately return the answer as soon as we've passed it in and passed it through all these methods. So pretty straightforward and pretty concise as well. So that's kind of how I would, obviously it's like I know what these methods are already, right? I know what chaining is, but that's not what it's about. Right? It's about telling the interview that you actually know what you're doing, that you haven't just memorized the answer. Because a lot of these, yeah, you can memorize this stuff, especially a question like this, right? You're going to go into it and you're going to be like, "Yep, I already know the answer," and the impulse is going to be to just bang it out because you've memorized the answer. But that's not the point. The point is to actually talk through the methodology behind the answer and explain it in an understandable way to the interviewer. Okay? So, let's go ahead and submit this. I'm pretty sure it's right, but we'll go ahead and we'll do our test. Yay, we passed all the tests. And then we'll go ahead and attempt it. I'm going to catch up with chat here after I put it in this attempt. Yay, we did it. Go us. Go team. Yeah, Hot Babe says, yeah, we need a way to reverse, so controlling each character is a good starting step. Copper Lily says, is there a difference between the split method and spread syntax? I think we're actually going to see a problem a little bit later on. I'm trying to remember if I included this one, but where you can use either one. Yeah. So the spread operator is newer. It's a newer syntax with newer versions of JavaScript. So depending on what the code base is in, it may or may not work. But yeah, I think spread operator would also work in this case too. NBA says, Mayan Wolf, I want to learn programming, but I'm scared because I'm going to the army and I'll forget everything and forget typing fast and forget English, my second language. So I would say, NBA, that what is, I mean, yeah, of course, when you go into the army, and if you're not able to practice, then yeah, you're gonna probably lose a little bit of skill, but you're not gonna forget everything. Um, the cool thing about learning to code and especially building things with code, right? You learn to code, you build things, you practice, is that you actually create long-term memory. So as long as you're practicing and you're applying what you've learned, you're going to put that information in what's called long-term memory. So it's literally in your brain for the long term, and you're not going to forget everything. You might forget a few things, you might forget a few, methods or examples or whatever, but the nice thing is as long as you remember the concepts and the approaches to solving problems, you can just go and Google if you forget a method, right? You can type into Google, hey, what's the method to reverse a string, right? Just do that. But the important thing is that you know how to apply it, and that's in your long-term memory. And so when you get out of the army, you'll be ready to go get a job or build more projects or freelance or whatever. So what's stopping you from starting now? I would say get started now, practice, get some things in long-term memory, and then when you get out of the army, and who knows, you might be able to practice while you're in the army. I don't know what country you're in or what your situation is, but you might even be able to practice or even apply your skills to help the army in some way. Who knows? So I would say do it now, get started. There's never a bad time, I guess, is the point. There's never a bad time, right? um, they always say the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, but the second best time is now. That's kind of a saying, and what that means is essentially you're always going to wish you had started sooner, right? But the next best thing you can do for yourself is start right now. Matthias says, I always forget to return something. Yeah, that's why I did it last, because I always forget returns as well. And you're like, why isn't it working? And then, yeah, because you forget the return statement. Cherry says, "Oh, that's something I've always wondered. It seems like a lot of array methods could be used on strings. That was always a bit puzzling for me." Yeah, it is. It's yeah. Arrays are handled similarly to strings in a lot of the way. Strings are handled similar to arrays in a lot of the ways. It's not a perfect overlap. It's kind of like a Venn diagram, right? You got a circle for strings over here and a circle for arrays over here, and there is some overlap in the middle. So yeah, there's a lot of cross usage that you can do. 10x says JavaScript is a pretty silly language. Okay, I won't refute you there. I won't argue with you there. It is very silly, but I think the thing is that we should never discount a language just because another language does a specific thing better, because every language exists for a reason. And so when you start writing off languages and saying that, oh, they suck, or oh, they're silly, or they're stupid, or whatever, then you lose out on all the benefits that that language could offer you in whatever niche it's good at. JavaScript is the language for web development, right? So I wouldn't ever discount a language, or say a language isn't worth learning. I would just say, oh, I don't need to learn that language right now for what I'm trying to do, but I might learn it someday. So be careful. Be careful in saying that languages are silly or useless, because they exist for a reason, right? Otherwise, people wouldn't be using them. So keep that in mind. Hey, Panak, good to see you again. Welcome back. What R equals string split? Yeah, you could do that. First try. Yeah. Yeah, spreader operator can fail with large inputs, certainly. Sorry, I'm way behind in chat. I'm catching up. You missed so many Twitch streams. Yeah. Oh, your internet's out. That sucks. Yeah, you can read documentation. Yep, reading documentation is great. Let's go ahead and submit this, and we'll look at some of the other solutions too. Folks have been spitting out some suggestions in chat, which is awesome. Let's look at some of the other solutions that people came up with. You can learn JavaScript and build a full stack app. Absolutely. That's one of the best things about it. It is very silly though, like in the way that it's like a Wild West language, right? It has no rules. You can do whatever the heck you want, and that is a good thing and a bad thing. It is both excellent and terrible at the same time, and that's life. Yeah. So a lot of folks are going to be doing the same thing. I think here we've got folks using you know uh, uh, arrow functions here. Yeah, and look here. So this is exactly what I wanted to show. I remember I'd seen this somewhere. So yeah, you could use, in this case, you can use the spread operator, just like you Copper Lily. I think you brought it up. You can absolutely use the spread operator here, and get the same result. Yep. And you could also get weird with it too. You could do a for loop. I mean, sometimes, if let's say you get into an interview and you don't suddenly you forget every single array method that you know, right? Methods no longer exist in your head. You don't remember. Ideally, that would not be the case, right? But it happens, right? Sometimes your mind just blanks, and that's okay. And so in this case, yeah, you could brute force it a little bit. You could do a for loop instead. Sure. And in this case, like Matthias was saying, they declared multiple variables for each one, right? And they did it really incrementally. Yep. Again, spread operator again. Another for loop. This one is a little bit more concise. So yeah, there's different ways to approach it. None of them are particularly bad as long as you can talk your way through it. And Strain says JavaScript is the 90s internet of programming language, which is why I love it. Yeah, no rules, Wild West, let's go. Yep, like just complete optimism. I think that's the vibe I get. Oh, nice. Yeah, latest Node version fixed the problem with spreads. That's rad. Oh yeah, and I think all of us who write JavaScript know that it was hacked together in a week. But it caught on. It's everywhere. It has a crap ton of you know, things you can do with it and frameworks that are built off of it that are genuinely really cool. It's got TypeScript built on top of it if you really want type specificity. So, again, there's reasons for all these things to exist, and that's, they're all important in their way. Yeah, and as Strain mentioned, they say you can always ask the interviewer, I'd probably use built-in methods here. Would you prefer I do it another way? Sure. I wouldn't necessarily volunteer that unless you really know exactly how to do it without methods. I wouldn't put yourself out there, and volunteer that information unless you really, really know how to brute force it. Be careful. But yeah, sure. If you're confident. Yeah, it'll never die because everybody knows it. Exactly. It's kind of like SQL, right? Is SQL, SQL is, I would argue that SQL is the best language for working with databases, but um, is it always the best? No. Sometimes a document based database is the best, right? Sometimes MongoDB is the better choice, but you're going to find that, um, and MongoDB has a kind of, a ton of really cool, nifty new features that SQL doesn't necessarily have. But everybody knows SQL and it's everywhere, so it's never going to die. Yeah. All right, let's take a pause. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We like to do that. We like to stay healthy. We're going to take 5 minutes. We're going to go get a glass of water. You should go get a glass of water too. Get up, go get a glass of water if you're able to do that. Use the restroom, do whatever you got to do. Pet your dog, let him out to go potty, whatever. And then come back after 5 minutes and we will tackle another problem here. We're going to move on to a 7Q. Like, this was kind of our warm up here. This was kind of our little practice round. We're going to go up to a 7Q for our next one, I think. Another one doing some stuff with, we're going to still work with strings. We're going to do another string problem, but this one's going to be a little harder. It's going to be a 7Q. So we'll give that a go. And I want to thank TFT Hamza, Savage Banana, Saint V, Rewoke, and yes, thank you all for the follows. Very much appreciated. Thanks for coming today. All right, 5 minutes. I'll see y'all back here shortly. Okay, folks, we got about a minute left in the break, so come on back whenever you're ready. If you haven't already gotten up and gotten yourself some hydration or a snack, please go do that now, or at the very least, stretch out a little bit, move your wrists, move your arms, roll your neck, get those kinks out so you're refreshed and ready to come back. Also, after you get yourself a glass of water, pet your dog, pet your cat, pet your significant other with their permission, of course, and then come on back. Copper Lily's stirring their chili. All right. Don't make me hungry, Copper Lily. All right, folks, we're back. Good to see you all back here again. Okay. And I finally remembered to re-enable my animations that like do my scene transitions. So that looks a lot better now than it used to. Alrighty, cool beans. So let's head on to the next question. I'm going to drop the link here in chat. Oh, Ro Muni, thank you so much for the follow. Good to have you here. Gosh, you guys, this is amazing. I am inching so close to 7,000 followers, which is friggin' nuts. I'm at Bearded Balder, thank you so much for the follow. I am at 6971 right now. So, oh wow, 6972. Ah, oh my goodness. And thank you so much for the sub, God Dinez. Wow, y'all are nuts. Thank you. Great to have you all here today. Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, you got funding, got? That's awesome if that's what you mean. Ghost Lupo, thank you for the follow. Oh, welcome to the stream, Romani. You're going to school for software development next month? That's so cool. Yeah. Sometimes I wish I had a CS degree. I don't. And you don't need one to be a developer, but a CS degree can give you a great background in theory. It can also give you a lot of connections in the industry too. So that's awesome.
Dotton is gifted 5 subscriptions to the community.
God, you're giving out subs? That's so nut. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So cool. Thank you so much. Wow, so generous of you. If you just got a gifted sub from Godinez, please, 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 thank you. Yeah, thank them right now. If you got a sub from them, thank them for their generosity. It is a big deal. Thank you. That's so kind of you. Mississippi says those leak code problems are driving me wild. Oh man, yeah, leak code's tough. Sometimes you gotta step back a little bit, right? That's why we're doing Codewars today. It's a little bit more chill. Holy cannoli! More subs.
Is gifted
God,
5
you don't have to do that.
to the community.
That's so generous of you. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your funding that you got for your project. What's your project? And if you just got another gifted sub from them, please thank them right now. It's an AI. Okay, that's so cool. Oh, still in cell. Okay, you don't got to share details, but congratulations. That's rad. I know it's really tough to go it on your own and go about a project in tech. It's so competitive and so great work. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think helped you succeed in getting your project funded? All right. While their background matters a lot, I'm self-taught. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Well, way to persevere. Romuni says, how did you start? Yeah, so for me, I came into it through data analytics. So I did go to college. Not everybody who gets into tech goes to college, but I did. And I got a degree in statistics. And so I learned, how to use Excel and how to do analytics and the principles of logic, which helped me out. But I didn't write any code until I was well out of college. I didn't write any code in college. Well, I did, but I sucked at it. I didn't understand it at all. I didn't remember any of it. And so I learned all of what I know on the job, which actually helped me be very practical and really learn how to apply things. So I think it helped me actually. But everybody has a different path to tech. There's no right way to get into it, which I think is my favorite thing about tech, is that it's everybody can come at it from whatever direction they want, and anybody can be successful if you have the skills and you know how to demonstrate those skills. It was very hard raising. Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah. Well, congratulations again. Thank you again. Also, wow, so generous. Blowing me away. Okay, let's take a look at this question here. So, again, the goal with this question is not to, if you know the answer, the goal is not to immediately say, "Oh, I know the answer." Right? We're approaching this like we would in an interview. So, how would we talk to an interview and work through this question constructively and show the interviewer that we know what we're talking about, we haven't memorized the answer, and that we can communicate effectively and get ideas across to another person. So let's look at this. All right, there. This time, no story, no theory. Okay, that's probably what more of what you're going to get in an interview, right? You're not going to get a long story. You're going to get a problem that they want you to solve. So pretty accurate, I would assume. The examples below show you how to write a function called accumulate. Okay, so they're giving us some examples here. They pass in A, B, C, D, and they get out of it A, B, B, C, 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 D, 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 D. Okay, and then the next one, similar. So it looks like a letter repetition problem. Oh, the link, sorry. Did I not send that already? My apologies. I think it popped in. I think it came just before the big sub rain of subs and I got distracted. There you go. There's the link. If you want to follow along, go ahead and do it with us. Yeah. So what do we see? Let's look at patterns here a little bit. So if I was talking to an interview about this, I would probably say, all right, so it looks like what you're giving me here are letters, and I'm seeing that the parameter is always going to be a string, which includes only letters, lowercase letters from A to Z, and uppercase letters from A to Z. So what I'm going to assume here about the inputs is that we're not going to get any numbers or special characters, and by that I mean things like brackets or um, non English letters, right? Weird Unicode symbols, nothing like that. So I'm seeing, all right, 26 letters, A to Z, uppercase and or lowercase. And it's going to be a random string, so it's probably not going to be an English word. It's going to be a random string with letters in sequence. So we're probably going to be able to use some string methods on this, some array methods to kind of manipulate these letters a little bit. And then I am seeing a pattern here, right? And what's the pattern that we see? What do we see here as far as a pattern? What's the pattern that we see between these three examples? And I'm asking you guys. Yeah. I'm seeing that we're seeing that whatever gets passed in, the number of repetitions grows, right? It increments the farther we go in the string, right? So the output, the number of repetitions, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So position 1 is, well, position 0 technically, but the first letter, we'll say that the first letter gets 1 repetition, the second letter gets 2, third letter gets 3, fourth is 4, and so on. And I'm seeing that pattern seems to continue for longer strings as well. Yeah. Yeah, we're essentially going to need, we're going to need to be looking at the index of that letter's location, and we're going to need to add increment by 1 for each subsequent letter, I assume. Correct? Yeah. And we can see here, again, always look, if you're doing a Code Wars problem, always look at the test cases to make sure that there's nothing that you've missed. Sometimes the people that write these questions are sneaky, and they will sneak in test cases that are a little wonky or different than what you're expecting. So always look at the test cases as well. Um, and so again, back in interview mode here. So I would say, okay, so I feel like I understand the inputs, and what I'm seeing from the returns here is that whatever string you give me, each letter in that string is going to have a number of repetitions dictated by the position in the string. So first letter gets 1, second letter gets 2, third letter gets 3, etc. And the other thing I notice here is that the first letter in each repetition sequence is going to be uppercase, and I'm seeing a delimiter here that's a dash. So the dashes should go between the repetitions. There should not be a dash before the first one or after the last one. And I'm kind of seeing that that pattern, no matter the length of the initial string, this pattern does seem to hold. So theoretically, if we can come up with a set of methods that will perform this behavior, we won't have to do anything special for the first or the last repetition. And yeah, we should be able to manage this with some existing methods. Exactly. As you mentioned, Natsu's, the first letter is always uppercase. Yep. Matthias says, question, my approach to stuff like this would be to test everything along the way before moving on. In this case, I would not care about capitalization, for talking about when you're doing incremental testing. Is this a good approach? Yeah, I would say so. Absolutely. We kind of did the first question all at once because it's kind of that kind of a question, right? But incremental is actually a great way to do it. And if I was in an interview, I probably would do something like that. I would say, okay, if they're going to give you kind of some kind of a test environment where you can actually run things, I would say, all right, let's test. So I think the first, approach here would be to do this, and then let's see what that looks like. And you'd console log it, and then you go back and be like, okay, now I think my next step is going to be this, and you add one more thing to it, and be like, yep, that worked. All right, and then you increment. Yeah, I think incremental development is great. Yep, you build a piece and you console log it, exactly as Strain says. Yep. Yeah, and that's what we're going to be doing probably more with this one than the first one, because the first one was very, I don't know, one-linery, I guess. It uses a lot of methods that people are very familiar with, but this one is a little harder. So let's think about this in terms of steps. So I think the first step is probably going to be to probably to split the string, right? We think probably the first step is going to be to split the string. So I'm going to console. Well, when we're going to do this with console logs, I'm going to console log. I guess they're just, and what's being passed in here is just S. So we'll console log S, and we'll just do a split. Oh, and one thing I could have talked about the first time too, and I didn't, was too similarly with join. You could also put a delimiter in split as well, and we're going to see that a little bit later. Hint, hint. We're going to see that a little bit later in another question. So keep that in mind. That a lot of the times, yeah, we use split with just an empty string here in the method, but you don't have to. You can split on other things as well. And when you do that split on, let's say, I don't know, a comma, or if you do the split on a specific letter, say, when you do that, that letter or delimiter gets removed, right? It gets nuked in the split process. So remember that as well. That might come in handy later. Hint. If we get there, we'll see. Yeah, it's much easier to test along the way than to debug afterwards. Absolutely. Yep, it's literally, that's how debugging works. Yep, you don't just jump in both feet. All right, so we're gonna console log. We'll console log this, and we'll see how it looks. It's gonna tell us it's wrong. That's fine. All right, so what it's done here is we've done a split, and that looks, it's run the first test case right here, and it's showing us an array with the individual split values. So that looks like what we're expecting. Again, so splitting this string up into its individual letters is going to allow us to work with those letters independently and manipulate them to do whatever we want. So that's exactly what we wanted. Now, I think the next thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to think about exactly what I'm returning here, right? So I want to return essentially a new string. And I think my roadmap, I can see my roadmap to get there is probably going to be via an array. So I'm going to have an array. Well, I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to have an array, and then I can just join that array back together. Now, why am I thinking about that approach, right? Why am I thinking about that approach? Number one, it's because I can use array methods on a string, which makes it a lot easier to do that manipulation. Number two is essentially what we've clarified here as the what the return needs to be from this problem. Specifically, they are adding an element here, or the problem is asking for us to add an additional element that didn't exist before. So by far the easiest way for me to add this repeated element between the individual letter repetitions here is what's the easiest way for me to do that? If I want to just take something, break it apart, and then add a new element, what would I do? Yeah, split is really powerful. Exactly. Yeah. So if nothing else, I want to split this into an array because the easiest way for me to add something new in there, a new repeated element, is with a join. Exactly. So at some point, I'm going to need a join method. Not yet, not immediately, right? Because if I just added it now, if I just did that, if I just did, dot join like that, and we console log that, it's going to give me that, right? So I'm missing the repetition element. So we haven't done that yet, but that's the easiest way for me to do exactly what the problem is asking at the very end. So we're going to need to add some additional stuff here in between. All right, so I'll take this out for now. So essentially what I want to return here again is a new array, but a manipulated version, right? So I want to take the original array, I want to manipulate it, and I want to return a new one. I want to say, all right, what's the way that I can take this original array, do stuff to it, and return a brand new array with that stuff done to it. So the same number of elements, right? The exact same number of elements, just manipulated. So thinking about array methods, what is the easiest way for me to do that? What's a way I can take an array and return another array with the same number of elements, but manipulated? Yeah, map. I'm thinking map, because what map allows us to do, exactly like DJ Smacker, Natsusuma, and Brown Skills said, what map allows us to do is exactly that. We take an array as an input and then look at each of the individual items in that array and manipulate them in a specific way using a function. So yeah, I mean, I think maybe you could, maybe for each would work, and we'll look at that when we look at the solutions. But I really think map is the best here, because we're going to be doing more than one manipulation to each letter, right? We're going to be doing not only the repeat, we're not only repeating each letter, we're also capitalizing things, we're lowercasing things. So I think map is probably the best choice here, but we'll look at the solutions and see what it looks like with for each as well. So all right, so we have their split, and I think the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to map. And so like we mentioned, map takes in essentially has two parameters. So what are those two? What are the two things? Well, I shouldn't say two. Map is essentially, it takes the array and it does a function, right? But that interior function inside of map, what are the two things that we're going to want to use here? Well, three. Yeah, there's technically three. We don't often use the third one, right? At the very least, what are the two we're going to need? What are the two parameters for this function we're going to need? Yeah, we're going to need whatever item we're on, right? We need whatever item we're currently working with. So that's going to get passed in as one thing. And then the location of that item in the array. So the first, essentially, we're building an interior function here. So I'm going to get the skeleton of that function going. And what's going to get passed into that function is whatever item we're currently on, and then the index of that item. And by index, if you're not familiar, the index of that item is just the location of it, right? So where is it at? Silverback, welcome to the stream. Good to have you here. They say, please forgive my ignorance. Now, there's no such thing as a stupid question. It's all good. Does JavaScript's map retain its order? So I assume by order you mean the order of the items in the array. That may or may not be important for this challenge. Yeah, so order is maintained using map. Yeah, but that's a great question. I love that question. That's awesome. I'd be curious of situations where, are there some methods where order is not maintained? Off the top of your head, anybody? Let's think. We can think about that a little bit. Oh, Romuni, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, okay, good point. Yeah, so there you go. That's a great thing. I hadn't thought about that. Objects. Objects don't have an order. There you go. Yeah. So arrays do, objects don't. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're taking these map, item, and index, and then we're passing those into a function. This notation right here, if you're not familiar, this notation right here is what we call an arrow function. So essentially what we're doing here is we're saying, all right, this is what we're passing into the function, and then To the right of that is the body of the function. It's just it's a different notation for functions. It's a little bit newer to JavaScript, so you may not have seen it before, depending on your knowledge. Now, for each of those items, essentially what we want to do is, I think the first thing I want to do here is I want to set so the first repetition is going to have an uppercase letter, right? So item dot to uppercase. All right, so that's going to be the first one. Sorry, my dog is asleep on the couch and he's barking in his sleep. So you might hear him. It's okay. He's just asleep and barking in his sleep, and it's really cute. So I love it. Archangle. That's a great way to that's a great way to think about it too. You can use map when it comes to time space complexity. A for loop might be optimal. It's a very small improvement. Yeah, it avoids creating additional arrays. That's a good point. Yeah, so less space, right? You're gonna do a for loop, sir. Yeah. No, and it's all about balancing, right? That's that data structures and algorithm stuff. It's all about balancing, um, cleanliness of code versus time space complexity. That's a great thing to think about while you're doing these. All right, so first thing I think the first letter in our set here that our output is going to be uppercase. So I think we've covered that, and we're going to be using this built-in method to uppercase. So fairly simple. Also, we don't need anything in the parentheses there. We're just invoking that method against item. And then what do we need next? Well, our next one is probably going to be a lowercase letter, right? But repeated X number of times, depending on our index. So how would I denote that? Yeah, so the next thing in plain English, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to repeat the letter in lowercase. So how we can do that is we would just simply say, well, okay, first let's back up a little bit. If I want to, I have my first letter here, right? What's the easiest way for me to attach the next letter in sequence? If I want to build a string one letter at a time, what's the easiest way for me to do that? If I'm building a string, there's a word for that too. I'm curious, do we remember the word? It's my favorite word. We're not joining just yet. We're not ready for that just yet. Yeah, exactly. We can use the easiest way is to use the plus operator. Yeah. So in JavaScript, we can simply use a plus sign. As long as we're working with strings, we can use a plus sign and to literally just join those items together in what we call concatenation, which is my favorite word, concatenate. I love that word. It's great. I'm glad y'all remember that. All right, so to uppercase plus, this is going to concatenate those strings. We're going to invoke that item again, and this time instead of uppercase, we can just simply say to lower case. All right. Going to try to pay attention to my parentheses here. All right, so let's see how this looks. I'm going to run this because we're trying to be iterative here, right? We'll see if I got the right number of parentheses. Yeah, all right, so we're looking good. We've got our individual items. We've got upper and lower case letters. Cool. Okay, I think we can keep going. Love it. Makes me feel like a dev. All right, so now that I have these lowercase letters attached to my uppercase letter, I'm going to do a small chain here, right? Because I only want to affect the lowercase letters, and I want to repeat them. So there is a method called repeat, but the big question here is how many times do I want to repeat this letter? How many times am I going to repeat? Because I can use I'm passing index into my function, right? I have the index value. How many times do I repeat that letter? Yeah, I was hoping I could trip. Well, I was hoping I could trip some of you up, but it seems like we're clued in. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Yeah, so let's think
Streaming
about
you
that a little
just
bit.
redeemed hydrate.
Thank you for the hydrate. So what are we doing here? Well, as we see from our output, right, we've got our uppercase letter. We've got our uppercase letter. So for example, Z. And then let's say we're on, let's say the word passed in is, uh, I don't know, ZYX. So my first one is going to be Z. My next one is going to be YY. And then my next one is going to be XX. And so what we've done so far is, sorry, XXX, yeah. What we've done so far is Z, YY, XX. But what I actually need is repeat to equal 3. So my total number of letters at this third position should equal 3. So it's important to think about it's important to think about the total number of letters at each position, not just the lowercase ones. That's the trick. That's what'll trip you up. So that's why, yeah. So the question folks are asking is it I or is it I plus 1? Let's try let's try I plus 1 and we'll see what that looks like. And we'll see if that's right. And then we'll talk about why it's right or wrong. So I'm going to say repeat. Oh, I used index, not, yeah, whoopsie. All right. Index plus 1. Let's see how that looks. It's going to be wrong either way because we haven't completed the rest of the problem yet. But all right, so this is what it's given us. So for this first string here, the expected answer is Z, PP, GGG, LLL. But what we're getting is ZZ, PPPP. So we've got one more than we actually need, right? We've got one more letter than we actually need, and it's this lowercase letter. So that means the correct answer is just index, not I plus 1. Now, why? Why? Yeah, and as actually Archangel already answered the question. It would be index, not index plus 1, because we need to accommodate the uppercase letter that we already did, right? We have this uppercase letter first, so that's already your plus 1 right there. So the repeat is just index. So now we can test this, and what we see is correct. So Z, PP, GGG, LLL. All right, so we're almost done. Yeah. Savage says, either that is a 2-pint mug or you are very tiny. Yeah, it's a very large mug. It is extremely large. I forget what the ounces is on it. It's a bonkers large mug. I love it. I love huge mugs of tea. Yeah. It's also closer to the camera, so there's a little bit of a perspective thing here. But yeah, it is a very large mug. I used to work for a company that actually like printed designs on home goods. So we're talking shirts, we're talking mugs, and one of my favorite things about working at that company is I got mugs out of like the scrap bin that weren't printed correctly or whatever, and I got some of these really huge, like absurdly giant mugs, and I use them every single day. I have 2 of them, and I use them every single day for tea. Because why would you want to drink tea out of a tiny mug? I mean, that for me that defeats the point of tea. Tea is about tea is about quantity, not quality. I know I'm gonna have some people mad at me for that, but yeah. All right. Anyway, let's finish this. Sorry, Dr. Moto. Tea gang, where you at? Yeah. Go tea. Triggered. Fight me. No worries, Archangel. I appreciate having you here. Yeah. That's awesome that you have such a good experience. No, and I appreciate your contributions. That's a lovely explanation. Yeah, absolutely. Great having you here. I love it when people who are really good at something will come and like hang out with people who are newer at something, right? Because then you can, as long as you're polite about it, you can really lend a lot of experience and expertise to the discussion. So much appreciated. Matthias says, question: wouldn't it be easier to break this down instead of chaining methods? Maybe it's just a personal preference, but for me, I am better at chaining methods. But again, hey, it could be just a personal preference and a personal approach to this. You could do it incrementally with variables. You could set each method as an independent, the result of each method as an independent variable and put them together that way. I tend to lose track of them that way, but yeah, it's just a personal thing. And we can also here, I'll make this a little easier to read as well if we're struggling to read it too. That's valid also. Because I'm zoomed in here a little bit. So we'll do this. We'll do item 2 uppercase. We'll do this like so. And repeat. Yeah, hopefully that makes it a little easier to read. So we do a split, and then we do our map. We do an uppercase, and then we add the lowercase repeated however many number of times we need. All right, so what's our last step? Well, I think we're about done. Our last step is what we already talked about to be our last step, right? Is to then just join these results back together into a string. So I need to get it in the right place. That's my downfall is going to be parentheses. I know it. Right. So repeat index. I think it needs to go here because the outer one is my console log. So then we'll join. All right. Yeah, and we're gonna console log it first though. We're not gonna jump right in. All right. So z that 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Yeah, I think we're cooking. I think we got it. All right. So yes, I'm gonna get rid of the console log, and we can go ahead and return this. And we'll test it out. First try. Well, we'll see. Archangel says, enable future devs. Yeah, yeah. And I love that you have that opinion, Archangel. Yeah, that's I think that's the opinion every single senior dev should have. Every single senior dev should be out there helping new folks get into the field, learning from new folks, learning from their experience. Yeah, that's the way to do it. So I love that. I love that. All right, we'll test it. Oh, I already tested it. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, yay, we passed. Cool. All right, we're gonna attempt, and we passed. Hooray! Yes. Okay, and we'll get rid of that. I'll get rid of my comments here. Yes. So we still passed. We'll submit. But yeah, let's look at how some other folks might have solved this. Because yeah, as always, there's lots of ways to approach a problem. Yeah, so we've got a for loop here, as discussed. Maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, space complexity there. So in this case, they split it out and they store that in a variable. They set up a variable for the results, and then they're using a for loop, and they're using push, and then joining it back up, taking the letters from that split, converting to lowercase. Yeah, and then joining back down here. Yeah. Hmm. Let's look at that, Archangel. Zoom in. Ooh, that's very clean. I like that a lot. So in their case, Archangel says for their for loop, we start with I equals 0, and then where I is less than s dot length, um, we're doing our usual for loop increment. So if I greater than 0 results, then so essentially what they're doing here is they are basically saying, all right, don't do it for the first one, right? For the letter or for the repetition at position 0, don't put anything, um, uh, you know, before that. But after that, we're going to be adding dashes, right? We're going to be adding dashes to our string. And this is just a shorthand here. If you're not familiar, you can use this plus equals shorthand to essentially add to an existing variable, right? So we don't need to declare anything new. We're just adding to it, to the existing result variable. So we're not assigning a new value. We're adding to the value. And then again here, add to the result. And then take the first letter essentially and do the uppercase. And then after that uppercase letter, add the lowercase letter repeated as many times as needed. So it's similar to the map that we used, right? Except just doing a for loop to essentially do the same thing, looping through each letter in that string, and then simply adding an uppercase letter and then a lowercase letter repeated as many times as we need to that repetition. And then once it completes this task, right, once we complete the uppercase and as many lowercase letters as we need, then it loops back to the next iteration of the for loop. And then finally, when it's done, we return the result. Yeah, essentially, as it's a manual map method. It's doing the same thing, but with less space complexity. Sure, totally. It's a manual map. I like it. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see if anybody else. I'm curious if anybody else. That's a great solution. It's very clean, very easy to read. Let's see if anybody else did that. Maybe you're the winner. Everybody's doing map. Ooh, that's a gnarly. Wait, I think that's well similar, but not as clean as yours. Another for loop there. Yours is better. It's always holy cannoli. Wow, that's a that's a deal. What was that one? Gosh, this is a deep cut, but wild and yeah, they're wild now. Um, over engineering at its finest. Yeah, absolutely. A long time ago, we were doing Code Wars, and what did we find? We found like the entire. Oh yeah, it was the entire lyrics to Smash Mouth's All Star written in comments, like in the solution. I think that was it, right? It was Smash Mouth All Star, the song. Hey, now you're an all star. Get your game on, go play. That one. Didn't they put the entire um yeah, they put the entire lyrics to All Star in the solution. It was extremely highly upvoted, as I recall. It was great. Here's another for loop. Okay, so I think this is kind of still yours is better, but they still did it using array methods. But the whole I was thinking the whole script to the B movie, but Phantom Menace is good too, or the Darth Sidious speech. Have you ever heard the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Yeah. There you go. Just chaos gremlin up in Code Wars. What have I done? Yeah. I think yours is pretty much the cleanest one here. Archangel. Very good. Reduced for fun there. Yeah. All right. But yeah, as you can see, I mean, we're not going to go through all of these, but there's a ton of different ways to do this stuff. And as long as you can explain it, as long as you can talk through it, and answer the question, even if you can't answer the question, right? Sometimes you're going to get into an interview and you're just going to be like, well, I'm screwed, don't know how to do this. But at that point, that's when you can really shine if you can explain your thought process. So even if you can't remember how to solve something, or they're telling you to use like a method or something you're not familiar with, if you can talk and explain yourself well and speak through this process step by step, like we've been doing, then you're going to go far. And it could be that you even run out the clock. Like they're going to understand your thought process. They're going to know how you think. They're going to know that you communicate well. So that's all positives. And you might even get lucky and run out of time, right? You might just be like, oh darn, interview's over. Okay, well, how about if I can I'll solve this for you when as soon as I get home, and I will send you the answer, and I will talk through my solution, my final solution, in an email to you. Can I have your email address? Well, I'll email the solution to you just as soon as I get home. And then you get home, you get some help, you solve it, you thoroughly explain how you solved it, and you email the interviewer. So that's a potential option as well. Yeah, and you always do want to look at how other people have approached the problem. Absolutely. Yeah. I thought not. It's a story the Jedi wouldn't tell you. Yeah. So the inside joke there is that there was a in Star Wars. Oh, which one is the third one? Anakin Skywalker is talking to Chancellor Palpatine, or Darth Sidious, and as Sidious starts telling him a story about Darth Plagueis the Wise. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you, and it's a big long speech. But anyway, it became a meme, and Yeah, it's episode 3. Yeah, but what's episode 3 called? Attack of the Clones? No, wait, is that the second one? Oh, anyway. But yeah, it's a big long speech and it became a meme. All right. Revenge of the Sith. That's it. Thank you. No, it was Revenge of the Sith. Thank you, Dr. Moto. All right, let's do another one. One thing I love seeing in interviews is binary search. Yeah. One thing I need to practice more because of the way kind of the method by which I came into being a developer is that I would say that my knowledge of data structures and algorithms is lacking since not having that formal training. Starting out in data analytics. And then going straight into SQL, obviously you have to optimize SQL queries, right? Like that's really important is SQL tuning, but um, I have less knowledge of the specific like building different types of search and sort and that type of thing because SQL is a declarative language. So essentially you're limited to the keywords that you have in SQL, right? And you essentially tell SQL what you want, and then the database figures out the most efficient way to get there. And so it's a little bit of a different approach than a lot of coding. But that's one thing I could improve is my DSNA knowledge, definitely. Hey, Dremoto, good to see you. Yeah, I do plan to practice that more. That's a sort of an area of deficiency for me. But it's important that we know our weaknesses along with our strengths, right? That's how we improve on them. All right, so next up, let me think about what we want to do here. Okay. This one we're gonna knock this next one out fairly quick because it's time for another break. But I wanna this is gonna build on this is another string problem, but it builds on something we mentioned before, and I really want to cover it. So we're gonna go through this one kind of quick, but I do want to do it, and I'll put the link in chat. This is another 7Q. And here's the link. Let's see. Oh, I don't. That's a really long link. I don't want that. And we're gonna click this. Oh, wait, hang on. New tab. Okay, there we go. This is the link. Let's see. Was this the one we did? Yeah. So essentially, this was our solution right here. This isn't exactly the way we did it, but it's similar enough. So we split the string. We did a map on it to generate a new array. Converted the first letter to uppercase, and then all the subsequent letters to lowercase with a repetition amount equal to the index or the position of the letter in the string. So if it was in the second position, we repeated it twice, third position 3 times, etc. So first letter, or sorry, if it's in the second position, we repeated it once because index 2 is 1. Yeah. Arrays, they're fun. But yeah, so first letter uppercase and then repeated X number of times depending on the position and then joined with a hyphen in the end. Yeah. All right, so next one here, X's and O's. Again, this is building on strings. I promise not all the things we're going to do today are strings, but I do want to do one more because it's good practice for array methods as well. Yeah, it could be. Maybe it's ChatGPT. I don't know. Everything's suspicious nowadays, right? Oh, I saw an article. I saw an article just yesterday saying that it's believed that like 50% of the content on the internet now is AI generated, just because you got bots just churning out content like crazy. That was wild to me. I read that 50% of the content on the internet now is considered to be AI generated in one form or another, whether it's bots or content farms or what have you. Okay. Yeah, I wonder why that is. Interesting. All right, so let's train this one. All right, this one is fun, I think, because it's almost written to be like a little bit confusing, right? In the way it looks at first glance. So you got to read it carefully and really understand what it's asking for. I over-engineered this kata. Hey, nothing wrong with that. So what are we doing here? Check to see if a string has the same amount of X's and O's. The method must return a Boolean and be case insensitive. All right. The string can contain any car. Examples, input, output. Okay, so what we're taking in here looks like it's a string. It can contain any character. Okay. I'm seeing uppercase. I'm seeing lowercase. I'm not sure if that includes, non-English characters or whatever. Um, but at the very least, it is a string specifically, so we can use, all the methods we know are compatible with strings. And then the output here should be a Boolean. So that really narrows it down, right? Um, it's either going to be true or it's going to be false, one of the two. So no nulls, nothing like that. We want to see a Boolean, true or false. Now, I guess one of the questions here, if we look at these examples, is what happens if it looks like it's agnostic as to whether the input, the X's or O's, are uppercase or lowercase, right? Because here I'm seeing two lowercase O's and then a
Goofinator123
lowercase
just
and an uppercase
subscribed with
X, but
Prime.
it still evaluates to true. And then any additional character, like this one here, is discarded. So that begs the question, what happens when there are no X's or O's in the string? So when no X and O is present, we should return true, I guess, because nothing and nothing is equal to each other. So there you go. Uh, Here we can see, for example, there's no X's, two O's, so that is false. Makes sense. We can look at the additional tests down here, which you should always do. So it seems like the rules are holding true. I'm seeing uneven numbers here, which is a false. Same number there, so that's true. Okay, so I think I'm understanding what goes in here and what comes out. Uh, and so we're going to be looking at only X's and O's. So that's actually helpful, right? Because if we're thinking about how to build this, we can focus on just those two values, uppercase and or lowercase, and we don't have to worry about other characters, right? Any other characters are going to get discarded anyway, so we can focus in probably on just the X's and the O's. Yeah. Oh, Goofinator, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Sorry I missed that right away. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. You're so cool. Thank you for subscribing. Much appreciated. Yes. Only the best Comic Sans for my subscribers. I'm so good at graphic design. I've got gradients, I've got word art, I've got Comic Sans. What else? What else do you need to build a quality graphic? Honestly. Edgar says, at some point we will have broken internet when AIs will be trained on content generated by other AIs. Honestly, yeah. It's already happening. It's already happening. And we're going to see where it ends up. I don't know. I think we're going to be okay, but it'll be wild probably there for a couple years. Ah, yeah. Dr. Moto says, I had to make a pull request for something this week because it was written by Germans and the docs had umlauts and whatever parses it was throwing a tantrum. Yeah, that actually happened to me at work as well. Same thing. So we were feeding data in, like as I mentioned before, right? I work with, I've got a weird hair thing going on here. Hang on. There. Yeah. Okay. Um, so I work with a lot of external systems, right? We take in data from dozens of external systems and we put it all in the same data warehouse. And so when you're aggregating this data from all these external systems, you're going to get a lot of different input methods, and each of those systems is going to have different allowable characters and different things that system lets the users do, especially if it's text entry, right? Anytime, just when you're designing an application, anytime you let your users do free text entry and don't limit what they can enter, you're gonna run into problems. Just don't let your users do that if you can help it. So yeah, we were dealing with a system that allowed for free text entry, and we kept getting like calls at night. Our systems would fail. It was just choke, and we were like, "What the hell? What is going on here? Why does this keep choking?" And it was because we had people putting emojis in the text, so like smiley, smiley emojis or whatever to accentuate their free text entry from this system, and it was causing all sorts of hell. We had to, we had to build a whole tool called the emoji removal tool that literally automatically runs a script before this data is ingested to strip out any emojis. We had to build something to handle it because the volume was incredible. People were using so many emojis every night. We were getting called. Um, yeah, it was wild. We had to come up with a whole new system to scrub emojis from the text. It was a wild time. Anyway, never trust the end user. That's the yeah, the end result, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead and start thinking about this. So I think we understand the inputs, we understand the outputs, we've seen some examples. So talking through the code here, um, I think we're going to need to do some kind of a comparison, right? At some point, there's going to need to be a comparison. So we're going to need to do compare. Compare. Sorry, new keyboard. Compare the count of x's versus the count of o's, right? We're going to need to compare those two things. So we're going to probably need some kind of a comparison operator, some kind of a check. Okay. And now the next thing is to get the count of each. Yeah, thinking about counting and comparing, right? Those are the two things we're going to need to do. If we break this problem down to its essence, I think we're going to need a count and we're going to need a compare for each type of character. So if I were to do that, I'm thinking that if I could split, so if I could take in, what I'm going to need to do here also is we're going to need to filter out any cars that are not I'm going to kind of put this in order. And so what I'm doing now is essentially this is the pseudocode aspect of the problem. So this is that fourth step in prep. We did the inputs, we did the outputs, we looked at some examples of inputs and outputs, and we are now in the pseudocode step. So filter out any cars that are not X or O. And I think also what I'm going to need to do here is probably do break into two objects containing only X or O. That's kind of how I'm thinking to do this. Filter out any characters that are not X or O, break into two objects containing only X or O. And once we have that, then it's really easy to do a count in each. And then, we have two separate objects. We can easily do a comparison between the two. So we can do a count and a compare between the two is what I'm thinking. We got to split. Yeah, I'm thinking that's the way to do it too. I'm thinking we're going to do a split here. And we'll test this, but we'll do a console log. This reminds me of the song X's and O's. Yeah. All right, so we're going to do a console log first. We're going to test this one incrementally. And I'm thinking, all right, we're passing in strings. So first thing I'm going to need to do, well, all right, if I'm trying to do a comparison or do an account, and I want to make sure that my two groups, my group of X's and my group of O's are identical to each other. By that I mean the whole group of X's should all be the same. There shouldn't be any difference between those X's, and the group of O's should be identical as well. What's the first thing I need to do if I want to homogenize if I want to sanitize what's being passed in? If I want to sanitize my input, yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to want to do either two lowercase or two uppercase here. Either one is fine. We'll just do two lowercase. So we're going to want to take that first. I want to sanitize the entire input by just converting everything to lowercase. I don't want to deal with any uppercase characters or any differences there. And then I want to split this into essentially two separate objects. So I think what I'm going to do, is literally just do a split. Now, here comes the kicker. We talked about this before, right? We talked about how generally when we're working with strings and we just want to divide it up into an array, we'll do a split like this. We won't put anything in this box. But if I were to put something inside of this method here, remember what I said earlier about how that behaves. If I put something in here, in this, as a delimiter, it's not only going to split by that delimiter, it's also going to get rid of it. So what might I do here? What should I potentially, What should I put inside of this method? Because I mean, yeah, I could. What I could do is I could do a split. I could split the whole string out into its individual parts. I could do like I could then sort it and I could filter. But I think I can eliminate a filter method entirely. I don't think I need to do that. Yeah. What happens if I? Oops, not that. Do that. Hmm. Let's console log this. Let's see how it looks. What happens if I say split by x? String to lowercase split by lowercase x. Test. Oh, yeah, the console log is fine. Yeah. Aha. Okay. So what I'm left with is an empty string and oh, interesting. All right, let's pass in let's see if we can pass. I think I can pass in stuff, right? So we'll pass in, let's pass in XXO, not zero, sorry. O, O. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, do that. Test again. Oh, it's not gonna let me. Yeah, it's all right. I can do a manual test case down here though, actually, can't I? Do a string. I can do this instead, I think. Test. Yeah. So what that does when I put x into this split method, it essentially nixes the x's, right? Yeah. So this is going to be useful, I think, because now what I can do is essentially the same thing again, right? I can do the same thing again, and I can just split out the O's. So then I'll have one array with just O's and one array with just X's. So we'll do that and we'll see what we get. As it does for space. Sorry, what are you mentioning there, Matthias? And let's do, we'll just do this. We'll do, oh, I think, and we'll just confirm this, but I'm pretty sure that's going to work. And I'm going to change my test case here a little bit. We'll do X, 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 and O, O, O. Yeah, there we go. So essentially what it's done for us is now I have an array with just the X's. Cool beans. So I think we're onto something here. And split as it does for oh yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, split space takes place and splits there. Yes, correct. Yeah, okay. So splitting on x. Yep. And now I think the next thing I want to do here is I want to know essentially how many x's or o's are in our particular array that we've just created here. By doing this split, how many x's or o's are in our particular array that we have just created? So how can I figure that out? How can I know how many x's or o's are in our array? Regex, we could do that. Sure. I don't know regex though. I have to Google regex every single time. So what's a way that we do know? If I was in an interview and you asked me to do that with regex, I wouldn't be able to, honestly. Bracket notation, okay. And get length. Do we need to do bracket location though? Let's just do this. Oops. Why would you torture yourself? I'm glad you agree, Archangel. I'm glad. Yeah. Anytime I need to do regex for work, I am Googling it the entire time. I don't memorize any of that. I don't memorize regex. Never have. I don't think we need to do a filter either. Let's see what we get with this. So remember, this is our test case that we're looking at. It has 4 X's and 3 O's. Okay. Okay, so our length is 5, and that's fine. It's not correct, right? But we don't really care about the length itself. That's the important thing to remember here is we don't care. It's not asking us to return the length. It's asking us to check and see if the length is if the length of x's is equal to the length of o's. So the length itself is wrong, but that doesn't matter. Yeah. Length. All right. So what if we just did this? What if we said, just see if they're the same number of x's as there are of o's? Doesn't matter what that actually is. What matters is the Boolean that we get back. And we know that if I do a comparison like this, if I just do a check, so if I just have my triple equals here and I do this check, it's going to return a Boolean automatically, right? I don't have to say an if. I don't have to do any of that. This is a comparison test, right? And so the automatic return from a comparison test is a Boolean. So let's try this and see what we get. All right, so our first one here, actually this should be, and I forgot to change my test case. This should actually return false because we have a different number. False. Oh, and by the way, if you're not familiar with Codewars, you can edit these test cases like I'm doing right now. It'll give you test cases by default, but you can add more, you can edit them, you can do whatever the hell you want. If you have something specific you want to test, just add a test case. So we're going to test this. Okay, so console log, we're still console logging this, so it's expected to be undefined, but if I change this to a return, because I forgot to do that, because I always do, then we should get what we expect. But yeah, false is false, so that's correct. And we'll talk through this again once I confirm. Yeah, I'll talk through this again. Let's confirm that this is going to work. Yeah, no, it is confusing. This one's a little harder. All right, so pass. We'll do an attempt here. Yes. All right. So cool. It's working. So let's talk through it again. And yeah, there's more than one way to approach this too. My method of approaching it might not make sense to you, and that's fine. You shouldn't do something that you should do the approach that you can explain that makes sense to you. But I'll talk through my thought as well. Yeah, and you could do like this with a for loop to count each increment. Absolutely, 100%. This is kind of maybe a bit of a code weenie approach to it, and so if for loop it away if you want to. That's perfectly valid. All right, so what we're doing here is the first thing we're doing is we're saying, all right, take all the elements in the string and put them to lowercase. And then we use the split method. What this does is it's kind of, so what it does is essentially whenever you use split, and you may not have been aware of this because you might have just always done split like this, maybe you've only used split that way, right? But what it's doing here is when we invoke split, we're essentially telling it to break apart the string based upon a specific delimiter. And what I mean by delimiter is, for example, like a comma or a quote mark. It's a thing that separates the elements in the string, or that tells us where one item in the string begins and ends, and then the next item begins and ends. So it breaks apart the items in the string. So it could be a quote mark, it could be a comma, whatever. We're just telling our function here how to break this string up. And then a side effect of using split is that it also gets rid of whatever delimiter we specified. So if I were to split on a quote mark on, let's say let's say I had something like this. If I had a string that I was passing in that looked like this, obviously I'd have like escape characters in there or whatever, but whatever. If I passed in a string like this and I did a split on it, and I split it on this character, on the quote character, that's I'm going to do a different character. Sorry, it's confusing. Do this. If I'm passing in a string that looks like this, wow, Owen Wilson. And I do a split on comma, like so, what I would get out of that is essentially, I would essentially get an array. I'm actually going to do this. Sorry, I keep changing it, but I'm trying to think about how to make this as approachable as possible. All right, so WOW delimited with dashes. Okay, I do a split, and I split on the dash. What I get out of that is an array with the elements W, O, and W. And then if I were to do a join on that, I would get back a string of WOW. Now, what you notice there is that the split not only split it out into an array, it also removed the dashes because we said this is our delimiter, and when we split it out, it's going to remove those dashes. Yeah. Okay. I hope that makes sense. How that works. It's basically split is basically the reverse of join. And we already know that you can join on a lot of different things, right? We could put in a dash here. We could put the dash back. We could put in a comma. We could put in, I don't know, a, an ampersand, right? And that would give us this. So split is basically the reverse of join. We can specify a specific delimiter character that we want to either remove when we split it into an array or add when we turn it back into a string. Okay? So that's what we've done here. We've said that our delimiter is X. And when we do that, what we get back is basically an array with only the O's in it. Because we were removing the X's when we split. And then after that, we just said, all right, now give me the length of that array, which the length itself doesn't matter. It's just for comparison purposes. The length of that array is going to be equal to the count of O's that are left. And then what we do next is just the opposite. We remove all the O's to have X's, and we get the length of the resulting array. And so if those two are equal, if there's an equal number of X's and O's, again, it doesn't matter how many there are, only that they're equal, we compare that and we get true. I hope that helps. And again, there's other ways you could do this, right? If this isn't clicking, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. But what you can do is you could do like a for loop, right? You could loop through, you could count. I think Copperlily was saying that they did it by doing a for loop, and each time it encountered an X, you increment count by one, and then you also do a separate count for O's, and you increment that by one. You could do nested for loops to do it that way. Also, I did it this way just to illustrate that we don't often use split in this manner, right? Normally, we're just doing this. We're just doing a split to break up a string into an array. We don't often think that split, this parentheses to the right of split actually has a purpose and it does something. So I think that's important to remember. All right, I'm catch up with chat here a little bit. Yeah, and Natsu says I would do it with some variables to count the O's and the X's and then compare. Absolutely, perfectly fine way to do it. We could have done it. Yeah, we could have done it like that as well. We could have said, we could have said, let count X equals, like counting X equals this one, and then let count Y equals this one, and then compare the two, right? Return count. Gosh, this keyboard, this is not the keyboard I normally use. I apologize, guys. It's killing me right now. It's a completely different size. All the keys are a different shape. I'm dying. So we could do that as well. Yeah. Yes, and filter is another option. Yes, you could filter. You could essentially use the filter method to filter out the X's and O's that way. Ah, Archangel, thank you. They say on large strings, split is actually more optimized. Very cool. Good to know. So better than filter in that case on large strings. Baller. Okay. Antonio says, I'm curious when people. Oh, and All Too Swift. Hello, by the way. Hello. And Kaliza8, thank you for the follow. I missed that. Sorry I missed your follow. And Zamasama94, thank you for the follow as well. Love to have you here. Thank you. Antonio says, I'm curious when people build bomb and window object, how they put all those built-in methods. It's crazy that it does so much stuff for us. I think, yeah, you mean DOM? Yeah. Yeah. The thing in tech is that people worry. I don't know. I always see people worrying about like, oh, I'm building an app that somebody's already built, right? This app already exists. People are scared to build something that isn't original. And what's important to remember is that we are always standing on the shoulders of giants, right? People had to do all this stuff manually in the old days, and then people came up with methods, and then we combine those methods together and we chain them up and we do different things with them. And so, it's always, tech is iterative, just like debugging. You're always iterating on something somebody else has done. Really, you're probably, the likelihood of you doing something completely original is really low. But we're always adding a little bit more positive contribution to the world, right? So don't stress about it. Yes, but it's lovely that we have these methods that we can use. Sorry, I'm catching up. Oh, thank you. Yeah, check out that gist from Archangel. We got to take a break, but feel free during the break, check out that gist from Archangel about some different solutions with their execution times, which is really cool. Yeah, check out that gist from them. Large string split, 10 different solutions for each Codewars. I can do these things because I deeply understand how loops, method, and property works. Awesome. Yeah, definitely keep, practice your solutions. I always think that when you understand how something works, it's better than just learn to use it, because when you understand it, you can solve any problem with a different approach. Yeah. It's important to do both, right? It's important to know both, um, how to use it and why you should use it. I think um, both are valid. Okay. Yeah, if you know both, yeah, both is good. Both is good. Yeah, both is good. All right. So I think we already tested. Let's attempt. Oh, I had a bunch of extra crap in there I forgot about. Sorry. Yeah, okay. Even though I left it in this format, I think that'll work fine. There's no harm in that. And then let's see. Oh, did I miss a question before? I apologize. Legolas says, wouldn't all the O's be one entry in the array, meaning it would count as one in the array for length, um, and then three empties, length of 4, not 2. Okay, let's test it. We can do some tests on this. We can double check. Let's test some stuff. All right, so I'm gonna do console log. Get rid of my return here. Just comment that out actually. There. All right, so console log. And oh gosh, we really need to take a break, but we'll do this real quick and then we'll take a break. I just keep talking, don't I? So let's test the first one. All right. And what's important to remember here is that we don't actually care what the length is. So even if it's wrong, we don't care, which I think that's what we're going to see here. So for example, let's take the first test case. It has 4 X's and 3 O's. And actually, let's make it, yeah, 4 and 4. We'll do that. Console log, and I just want a console log count of X. Okay. I think the important thing to remember here is actually what we're trying to achieve. So, and then we'll test this. Oh, and I shouldn't have done, yeah. So our count here is 5. And technically that's wrong, right? There's 4 X's, but we don't care about that. We only care if the counts are equal. But then let's take the length off of here, and we'll see what that looks like. So yeah, you're not wrong, right? You're not wrong. It's giving us an array with 4 blanks and then the 5th one with the letters all together. But we don't care what it looks like, right? We only care if the length of this array is equal to the length of the other array. And so that's why this works. Now, if we were trying to get if we were trying to actually output this, then yeah, that would be wrong. But the length of this, that would be wrong. But that's not what we care about. We only care if the lengths are equal. So it's a little sneaky. It's a little sneaky, but it works. So let's go ahead and look at some other solutions. We can look at some, I'm sure there'll be some for loops and some things that are a little bit more accessible and understandable in the output. Um, if this still isn't clicking, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, you don't have to do it this way, but it is a little bit of a interesting implementation of split. Exactly. As Strain says, whatever the function counts wrong for x, it will also count wrong for 0, but they will match. And that's all we care about, right? So yeah, this is a length of, there's technically 4x's, not 5, but it's going to do the exact same thing for this one, and they'll be equal, and that's going to give us the answer that we want. Yep, it's important to remember, what are we actually doing? Our goal here is to return true or false. True if they're equal, false if they're not. True if there's the same count of x's to o's, false if the count is different. And this is a way that we can find that count and see if those counts are equal. We don't actually care what the counts are. Hope that helps a little bit. Freshman Bill, thank you for the follow. Mattel says, if the number of elements in the array is an odd number, wouldn't that mean that automatically you don't have a match? No. And I'll look at the test cases and tell me why. Look at what could happen. What could happen? What could potentially happen, Mattel? By looking at the test cases. Specifically, look at case 3. Look at case 3, Mattel. What do we have there? Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Uh-oh. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and attempt this, and we'll take a break. Let's see. I think I got my statement. Okay, attempt. Okay, submit. Yeah, it's important to understand the test cases when you're approaching the question, right? That's why we do that. Ooh, this one's fun. First one is regex. Who suggested regex before? Who said use regex? That's always, whenever there's a regex option, like that's what Codewars always puts as the best one. Yeah, so what they've done here is they've just said, all right, build 2 strings, one matching on every occurrence of x. Yeah, you did, Matthias. You did. And then the other one is a match on O's, and then it's just checking the length. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to take a break. Yep. Don't do regex. Yeah, I don't do it either, but that's what Codewars always, recommends. LeetCode is harder than Codewars. Yeah. Then the next one is using filter method. So I think that one might be more accessible, like a little bit, easier to grok right out the gate. So they're doing a lowercase, they're splitting it apart, and then from that they can then use array methods, right, and do a filter to say, all right, grab every item that's equal to x, grab every item that's equal to o, and compare their length. So they're doing the length compare here. They're doing the length compare. So in this case, again, it doesn't matter what the length itself is, it just matters that they match. So both work. That's the one we did, I think. Yeah, it's split. Yeah. Here's the for loop solution. So essentially what this is doing is it's saying, all right, create a sum variable and then do a loop through the entire string. If the value of that particular letter is x, then add to the sum. If the value is an O, then take away from the sum. And essentially the idea is that if it ends up equaling 0 in the end, then return whether, so if that sum equals 0 in the end, then return true or false. So this is going to do a comparison, return true or false. So this is the problem right here if you want to try it yourself. All right, we're going to take a break now. because we're overdue. 5 minutes. When we come back, we're going to do another question. All right, come on back after. We're going to take a 5 minute break. For those of you, I know a lot of folks just joined the stream. For those of you who are just joining, we are going to take a break for our own health. Get a glass of water, use the restroom, whatever you got to do. 5 minutes, and then when we come back, we're going to do another question. We're going to talk through it and learn how we could handle it in an interview. Really understand the solution. See you in 5. BRB. Alrighty, folks, we got about a minute left in the break, so come on back whenever you're ready. Get yourself some hydration. If you've been sitting through the past couple breaks and haven't actually moved your body in any way, please do so now. Gotta stay healthy. Don't get carpal tunnel. Don't hurt your back. And then whenever you're ready, get yourself a glass of water, pet your kids, pet your dogs, pet your significant other with their permission, of course, and then come back. my goodness, Tifu, thank you so much for the gifted sub. It's so kind of you. When we in 10 seconds, I'll show you my thank you screen once we switch back to my main screen here. All right, and we're back once again. Thank you so much to Tifu. Is it Tofu or Tifu? I apologize. One of the two. Great name. Yes, thank you so much for the sub. You're a very cool person. Thank you for gifting that sub. That's so kind of you. Great to have you here. I'm thinking that might be Tofu. Is that right? I don't know. But either way, thank you. All right, let's move on to the next one. We're gonna drop back down to 8 Qs. That last one was a little harder, right? So that's all right. We're not gonna stress. We're gonna drop back down and finally get away from strings and do a little something with numbers for once. So let's look at this one. And I'll share the link if you want to follow along. All righty, what do we got here? We got math. Nobody told me I was gonna have to do math when I started coding. Honestly, me and math, we don't get along. Me and math don't get along very well. I think I've told this story before, but math, it's not too bad. But I think I may have told this story before. But in elementary school, I literally refused to learn multiplication. I was just like, nope, I'm not going to learn that. I refused. And so instead of actually like doing something productive, like learning my times tables or my multiplication tables, I literally would like write out like, if it was like 5 times 10, I would write out 10 fives and I would add them together painstakingly instead of just, taking the, 10 minutes it would take to actually memorize my times tables. I was like, no, I'm not going to learn that. And I would write about one by one. All right. Once again, Layla says, speaking of math, how many followers do you have now? 6,977, I think. Yes. That's where we're sitting at right now. But what's amazing is I've actually had tons of folks gifting subs today in the chat, which I never ask for, but I do thank you for that, which is wild. That never happens. So thank you all again. That's really lovely of you. So yeah, I'm just a hair under 7,000 subscribers, or sorry, not subscribers. Good lord, hair under 7,000 followers, which is really wild. Okay, so let's take a look at this question again. We are going to yeah, no. I will never get to 7,000 subs. I know that's the case, and I'm fine with that. The nice thing is that got to make 9,001 this year. Yeah, we'll see. Why not? You never know. I think the nice thing is that I don't. Well, I think the thing I'm always grateful for is that I don't rely on Twitch. I don't make a living from Twitch. I think is what I'm trying to say. Is that so I can do this just for fun. I don't have to advertise. I don't have to. Yeah, I don't have to advertise. I don't have to make this into a job. Right? I can just come on here and hang out with y'all. But yeah, we can dream big. Yeah. See you, Mattel. Always great to have you here. All right, let's talk through this problem like we have been on the last ones. Remember, the approach here isn't that we solve it as quickly as possible, right? It's that we talk through the solution, understand why we're doing what we're doing, and how we want to do it. We understand the inputs, we understand the outputs, we understand the examples, and then we can talk through the best approach or the approach that makes sense to us. What the heck, Johnny Drama? Thank you so much. Wow, and we got a hype train. I don't even know what causes a hype train. I don't even know. Thank you, Johnny. Wow, and you get my hang on sub screen. There we go. You're cool, Johnny. Thank you so much for subscribing. Great to have you here. I don't know what that means. What is hype train? Is that my cat's? No, it's a GIF I found. No idea. I just want to do math. Neither do I. What does it mean? But thank you all anyway. Oh gosh. So you guys are great. All right. So what is this question asking? We're going to understand the inputs. We're going to understand the outputs. We're going to understand the test cases so we can take care of any edge cases. And then we're going to understand the pseudocode. Math. All right. Write a program. Write a program that finds the summation of every number from 1 to num. Okay. So what this is telling us right here is that we are starting at 1 and then going to some number. We don't know that could be a number of anything really looks like. All right. So, but we're always starting at 1. So that's important to remember. The number will always is a great word in this context, always be a positive integer greater than 0. Okay, excellent. So we're dealing with a positive integer, no decimals, greater than 0. Your function only needs to return the results. What is shown between parentheses in the example below is how you reach that result, and it's not part of it. See the example test. Okay, cool. So they're telling us, so from that, we understand the input, right? It's an integer, positive integer, greater than 0, starting at 1, or at least 1, right? And then the output is also going to be an integer, right? It's going to be also going to be a positive integer greater than 0 because we are told that the methodology to get there is addition. So that narrows down our possible outputs to always being a positive integer greater than 0 because the only way we get to that output is by addition. Okay, cool. So our inputs are going to be input is positive and output is also positive. I should say input is positive integer, also positive int, because only addition is allowed. All right. Okay. So here the input is 2, and then the output is 3 because 3 is 1 plus 2. So starting from 1, we're doing addition and incrementing upward until we reach the input number, it looks like. So for this one here, output is 36 because we're doing 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. All right, cool. That's math, right? I'm sure that's a thing in math. I don't know what it's called, but I think we can get there anyway. So in this case, yeah, the examples they have down here seem to draw out that fact where we're putting in a positive integer, we're getting out a positive integer. Cool. All right. So giving those examples, let's think about how we might potentially solve this. So we're going to want to increment, right? We're going to want to increment from 1 to n by values of 1. So I'm thinking that, I know y'all have been just absolutely chomping at the bit this entire time for a for loop. So how do we feel about maybe using a for loop for this? We're not going to get fancy. What if we just do a for loop? That's for me, that when I say, increment from 1 to n by values of 1, the thing that immediately springs to mind is for loop, right? I think that sounds good. Our for loops are the devil. In JavaScript, they're pretty useful as long as you build them right. And like Archangel was saying earlier, I mean, sometimes they can have less, time space complexity depending on what you're trying to do, right? So, all right. So let's think about this. What are we going to need first? So we're gonna have a for loop, right? At some point, it's going to do some stuff. So our for loop is going to do some stuff, and then oh, thank you so much for the thank you so much for the hype train. That's funny. It's Twitch is telling me that I missed my own hype train. It's like I'm not going to contribute to my own hype train. It's so funny. Twitch is weird. Yeah, so we're going to need something to right? We're going to need something to store our value in, right? So if we're going to be incrementing a value, we got to store it in something. So we could call it I don't want to call it, well, I could call it sum. Let sum what, I kind of want to call it like let running total. Let running total equals 0. Right. So we're gonna declare it and Bob, right? We can call it whatever we want. But we're gonna say let running total equals 0. Declare that. And you'll notice here that I'm using let notation and this problem is using var notation. Um, so var is, if you're not familiar, var is just an older way of declaring variables in JavaScript. So declaring variables in JavaScript used to be less precise. Newer versions of JavaScript use two types of declarations, which are let and const. Now I'm using, so const is for constants, and then let is for other types of variables. Why am I using let here instead of const? Sorry. Why am I using let here instead of const? What's the difference between the two, I guess is what I'm asking. Why is it appropriate to use let here? var, yeah. Yeah, because we're going to be changing the value. We're going to be incrementing it. That's why it exists. Mutability. Ooh, lovely vocab word there. Yeah, we're using let here because that value is going to change over time. Const is for constants. It's for values that don't change or that you don't want to allow them to change. Yep. Yeah, and that changing is called mutability because we can mutate or change that value as we go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Trying to be fancy. I love that. That's a great word though. Mutability is great. Um, yeah, and those types of vocab words are, if you can whip those out in an interview, those are going to help you too. Like concatenation, mutability, all those things can help you out. So good to know. All right, so let's populate our for loop here. So we can say let I equals, let's see, we're starting at 1, right? Because they're telling us we're going from 1 to n. So let I equals 1, and then like the one place that semicolons matter in JavaScript is right here. I always forget that, and then I run into trouble. And then where I is less than num, right? Because that's what's being passed in here. So we're saying, all right, or sorry, less than or equal to num. And we could have done I equals 0 and then I less than num here, right? That could work too. But I think to stick with the spirit of the problem, we want to start with 1 and then just say I less than or equal to number, because I think that goes better with the actual text of the problem. But we could do either one. Both would work. And then we're going to increment. And we could say there's two ways we could say this here, right? We could say I plus 1, or what's the well, technically not shorthand here, but what's the code weenie way we could also write this instead of I plus 1? Yeah, a quick way to show that you know how to increment a variable is by doing I plus plus or whatever. Yeah, brother, you're close there, brother. But in this case, it's not num plus plus because num is the value we're passing in to stop with, right? We're here, I is actually our counter, is our increment. So this is the thing we want to be incrementing up. If we did num, if what would happen if we did num plus plus here? What would happen if we did that? I think I've done. I'm only asking because I've done this before. So, what would happen if we did that? Yeah, you open the demon portal. Well, essentially, our loop's probably never going to end, right? Or because we're always increasing the upper limit. So yeah, it's I is going to say no. It's I is going to stay 1 forever, and it's just going to keep incrementing through, and our upper limit is going to get higher and higher, and so our for loop is never going to end. We're going to end up in an infinite loop situation, which I think we've all done that at some point, right? All of us have, everybody here in chat has accidentally done an infinite loop at some point. I'm sure it happens. It's a thing. So just remember when you're building your for loops, what exactly you're going to be incrementing here. Not me, I'm perfect. If you want a one-way shut down an old PC, use this. Yeah. We would never. Yeah, you can do while loops as well. Yeah. Yes, I did it. Yeah. Yep. Everybody has, right? There's nobody here who hasn't done that. Anyway, okay, so inside of our for loop, what do we want to happen each time? Well, we want to take results, um, results, uh, and then we want to say equals result plus 1. Now we talked about this. Oh, it's not result, it's running total. Sorry. the result of whatever. There we go. Running total. Yep. All right. Now, we talked about this before, but what's the quicker way I can write this? I can code weenie this too, right? This is fine. This will work. Yeah, it'll work, right? Is it going to be result plus plus? It's we got to be careful here. That's why I asked the question, because is it going to be, actually no, it's not result, it's not this either. That's wrong as well. I was wrong there. So it's actually going to be this, right? It's this. Almost wrecked myself. I checked myself before I wrecked myself, right? I almost got that wrong. It's not plus one. That's not what we're doing, right? Because we're saying, all right, let's talk through this a little bit to make sure we understand why. Thank you for the follow, Ajvar. So what we're doing here, for example, in let's take this second example here. So the first loop, right? Our I equals 1. So our running total is 0, right? And then I equals 1. So in our first loop, we go through 0 equals 0 plus 1. Output is 1. The next loop, our running total is now 1. And our I is also 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. And then the next loop, our running total is, I need a bigger screen. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, and our, again, our running, so we're essentially, oh, sorry, hang on. My Twitch screen started flashing for no particular reason. It's like glitching out. I apologize. My like Twitch interface is just flashing on and off, and it's really distracting for no apparent reason. The hype train, like as soon as the hype train thing started, it made my Twitch interface just start blinking. Okay, I'm glad so you can still see me, you can still see me, you can still hear me. Okay, great. Yeah, second run your eyes too. So essentially what we're doing here is I is getting bigger as we go, right? So 1, 2, 3, etc. Yeah. Our total starts at 0, and each time we loop through, we are essentially incrementing I and adding that to the previous total. So our running total is just keeping track of the sum of all the previous values of I, right? And each time we loop again, we're adding that to the previous total. So no matter how many times you loop through, running total is always just going to be keeping track of the sum of all the previous loops plus whatever the current value of I is. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're showing here. Oh, thank you for the follow, Sergio's. Or Sergey, sorry. Still flashing. Hard to read. Okay. But we can actually simplify this, like I think folks were posting in chat earlier. We can simplify this, code we need a little bit by using the shorthand running total plus equal I. And that'll do that. That does the same thing. It's just JavaScript shorthand to say, hey, take this variable, and add this value without replacing the current value of the variable. And we saw that with a string, it does something slightly different, right? If you do this with a string, it's going to concatenate. But if you do this with a number, it's just going to sum. No, and you're right, Sajun. I think I said that wrong before. Yeah, each time you're looping through, essentially what you're doing is you're starting at 1, and then you store that after the first run, you store that in your running total. And then the next run, I increments to 2, and then you store that in your total, and 3, and 4, and whatever. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're good to go. And then the last thing we need to do here is console log it. Console log. Actually, and let's do this too. We're going to do this. First thing I'm going to do is console log running total. Oh, and real quick, before I do the console log, so I'm going to change it to 1, and we're going to see the difference to see what if we do the test cases, what does that equate to? And then I'll change it to I, and we should be able to see the difference there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this test case to say, I'm going to put this one up here. I'm going to say 8. I'm going to say 36, like that. That's a good test case. So the expected value of this is going to be 36 if we pass in 8. Let's see what happens if I use 1 instead of I. Now, before I run this, before I console log this, why didn't I, if I'm using running total inside of my for loop, why didn't I declare running total right here? Because normally, right, you want to, keep your variables like close to the, you want to keep your variables close to where you're using them, right? You want to keep things local if you can. So why didn't I do it that way? Because you're smart. But why? Yeah, scope. It's scope, right? So there's a few, and there's more than one reason, as Strain mentioned as well. So two reasons that I didn't do it that way. Two reasons. First reason is scope. Yes, if I declare a variable like I did here inside of an object, right? Inside of a function, inside of a for loop, inside of something that's bracketed in this way. If I declare something inside of there, it can't be referenced outside of that object. So outside of these brackets, this console log doesn't know what running total is. It can't read it. The scope on this is localized to inside of the for loop. So that's reason one. Reason two is that if I declare it in here, every single time the for loop runs, running total is going to be reinitialized every time with a value of 0. After I learned React, I forgot how to use pure JavaScript. Is this normal? Yeah, this is vanilla. Yeah, and that's why it's. I mean, I like React too. I use it quite a bit, but it's important to go back and practice the basics so you remember what they do. Um, oh yeah, right, Matthias. Yeah. So there's more than one reason why we did this. I'll get you the Discord there, Xmetrics. It's that second link in the command there. Check it out. It's a really active Discord. We've got like 30,000 members. So a lot going on there. And it's about to get a lot busier. I'm going to tell you that in the next couple weeks. It's about to blow up. But anyway, so yeah, two reasons. One is scope. The other is that we don't want this variable to reinitialize every single time we go through the loop. So we need to declare it outside so that it's only put in place once and that our return or our console log can read it. So first off, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to do this with running total plus equals 1. So just adding 1 every single time we loop through. Test, and then I want to see what this equates to. Oh, I keep leaving my comments in there. Sorry. Yeah. So when I do that, no, you're not banned, Mohammed. Wait, why can't I join at my band? I don't think you're banned. I don't know. Are you? I can't tell you that. I wonder if that Discord link maybe got changed. I haven't updated that. I haven't updated that link in a while. Go to the if you want to join the Discord and it's not letting you via that link, try the first link to the website and then navigate to the 100 devs page and try joining that way. I don't know if that's the same page or not. Yeah, but let me know if that doesn't work for anybody else, and I'll see if I can get that link fixed. Sorry. Okay, so essentially when we pass in 8 here, it returns 8, which is not correct, right? It needs to return 36. So why? Well, we've actually already come to the right answer, but I want to make sure people know the difference as to why it's I and not 1. Link on the site is the same as the link in the bot announcement. Does it not work? That's concerning. I have to see if I can get the right link and put that in my bot. Or if the site's broken too. I know the new site is going to be launching in a couple days, so maybe he's just broken the link for that reason. I don't know why. But yeah, there's going to be a new website up in a couple of days. So you can always try that in next week or whatever. Sorry about that. Okay, so what is happening here? Well, essentially, because we're using 1 It's essentially just doing 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. And when that happens, we get 8. So 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5, 5 plus 1 is 6. And what we want instead is we want it to grow exponentially with the iterator I. So if we put I in there, we'll find that it's actually going to work. Yep. So when we do that, we get 36. Input is 8, output is 36. Cool. So we'll go ahead and return running total. Oh, thank you, Strain. I appreciate that. Yeah, try that link instead, Mohammed. See if that works. Yeah, Discord does require phone validation, and that's really just to try to keep bots out because it's a really popular Discord server, and bots are I can't talk and type. Bots are a big problem, unfortunately, because there's so many members. So bots are really try to target the Discord, and so we do uh, make you verify with phone number just to try to prove that you're a real person. Yeah, I know. I do apologize. You can verify with like Google Voice or something like that if you don't want to share your real phone number. Yeah, Matthias, I really just all I did was I changed this from 1 to I because I wanted to show what happens if you use 1 here instead of I. If you use 1 here, all it does is it just adds 1 each time, and so you end up with 8. But in the end, what we actually want is to increment by I instead, adding I to the total each time, and then you get the proper answer. We attempt that, and we'll submit. Yes, and oh, yes, correct. And I also changed the console log to a return. No VoIP service allowed. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. So that looks like what most people did. For loop. Ooh. Okay. This is a mathy solution. So can anybody explain this? What is this? What are they doing here? And I'm honestly asking because I am me no math so good. Yeah, n times n plus 1. Yeah, I mean I can see what it's doing, but like what is the principle? Why does it work? N plus 1 divided by 2. N times n plus 1 divided by 2. Okay, I may have to research the principle, but for me anyway, the easiest way to think about it was just, keep a running total, add I to the running total each time. That's just math for doing. I like that. It's just math. It's just math for doing stuff. Forget how it works, yeah. Put in number 5. So 5 times 6 divided by 2 that's 15. So, okay, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 must be 15 then. Yeah, 15. Okay, so it's just like a shorthand for summing up that sequence of numbers. Okay, good to know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not good at math theory. So that's why I have computers do math for me, right? Okay, let's see. I had so many more I wanted to do, but I also wanted to kind of keep things at a reasonable. I wanted to keep the stream at a reasonable length today. Maybe we'll do another Code War session in a couple weeks because there were more problems I wanted to get to, and some of them which are really funky, which I thought would be really fun. Um, RBO says, my friend Blind Cat Studios is starting a game dev stream. It'd be awesome if you consider rating him later. Today's his 3rd stream ever. Oh, is he on right now? I mean, we're not going to raid just right now, but when is he going live? Welcome to the stream, by the way. Is he going live soon? Live right now? Okay. Well, we're gonna kind of chill here for another 20 minutes or so, but then we can go ahead and raid him because we like to do raids within the game dev and software space. Xmax, yeah, we did look at the regex solution as a potential one. We just didn't I don't do regex, but yeah, that was the like the one of the main solutions for that particular one. I think most of the time I don't do regex, and I just don't generally promote it just because I don't have those types of things memorized. But yeah, that's regex is valid. Oh, I think you might have some. Think you might have some folks in chat that might want to, go out, take you outside by the bike rack, and throw hands a little bit there. There might be some disagreement. I'm glad somebody enjoys regex, honestly. Okay. To each to their own opinion, right? Shots fired. Yeah. All right. Well, it's been about 3 hours. Y'all have hung on really great. I know it's really late for some folks out there in Europe. We're not going to end things just yet. I wanted to spend like the next 20 minutes just kind of chatting. Let's hang out for 20 minutes, and then after 20 minutes, we'll go ahead and raid Blind Cat Studios and check out what they're doing with their game dev. I think that'll be a really fun raid. But yeah, if you've been having some burning questions about, you know, who am I? Like, what is 100 devs that she keeps talking about? Who am I? How did I get here? What do I do? Um, how did I become a senior dev? How do I join 100 devs? Whatever you want to ask is fair game, as long as it's asked respectfully, I guess, is the main caveat. Thank you for the follow, by the way, Shifter Bro and RBO. Man, Xmixers, I'll be honest, whenever I have to use regex in my day job, I just Google it, or I have Chat GPT read it for me. Because yeah, I do have to use it occasionally, certainly, but I don't devote my valuable brain space to I don't honestly, I don't devote my brain space to regex. And I work in data transformation. So I mean, to each their own. I'm glad you like it. But yeah, like I said, we got a few minutes here at the end. I wanted to devote a few minutes to what questions do you have? What do you want to ask me? Or, it doesn't have to be about like serious stuff either. It can be about whatever. I just want to hang out. Thank you, Matthias. They say if you're scared, and specifically if you're scared, if you have social anxiety, if you have trouble interviewing, if you're not sure, how to talk to people or how to network, which is by far the most important part of getting a job in tech, then yeah, absolutely. Um, Connect with folks like Matthias, great advocate for learning social skills and social development. Yeah, great place to be. Brother says, "Do you play Elden Ring?" I haven't yet. I feel like I don't have time to play anything anymore, much less something like Elden Ring. Um, I wish I did though. I really want to play Baldur's Gate. I want to play Elden Ring. I want to get a PS5 and I want to play Spider-Man 2. I want to play Horizon Forbidden West. I want to play God of War Ragnarok. Like, man, my backlog is crazy. I think my next game is going to be that new Prince of Persia game though. On the Switch, just because
Smetrix
that's
just
about the only thing I
redeemed
have time
first
for now
try.
is Switch games. First try. Yeah. Uh, why isn't there a redemption for piano thingy? What do you mean? Chatting here, yeah, absolutely. Chatting in here counts as networking, 100%. Yep. Yeah, networking can come in a lot of forms. Sometimes it's verbal, sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's through text, something like this. Yeah, I really haven't had much time to play like since then. I played a little bit. I played Metroid Dread. That was really fun. That was really it wasn't too long either, so I was able to get through it on Switch. Metroid Dread was super fun. I played a few indie games. I really like indie games on PC, like to support indie developers. I played Jusant, which was a fun one. I really want to play Dave the Diver as well. So like if I'm gonna need to take like a month of PTO sometime just to sit down and like grind out a bunch of games, but that's probably not gonna happen. Xmetrics said, "Would you be interested in teaching people absurdities of JavaScript and how to code for job security, spaghetti coding? So how to write really, really bad, unreadable code? Ooh, yeah." uh, um, I mean, a stream about some absurdities of JavaScript might be fun. I'm not necessarily going to advocate for writing terrible code, but writing bad code shouldn't prevent you from building things, certainly. Even if you don't feel like you're good at writing code, you should still build stuff. Don't let that stop you. You've been in a big Undertale phase of late. Yeah, I did play Undertale. That was a long time ago. Yeah, a lot of fun. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There is a keyboard in the room. You're a good eye, by the way. I forgot about that. Yeah. So yeah, I do play piano. I have a Yamaha keyboard over there. Um, but I will say I don't know that I'll ever have a channel reward for it. It's kind of a personal hobby of mine. But yeah, I do play piano. You're correct. I play piano and sing mostly. We both play keyboard. That's awesome, Copper Lily. You suggest people learn bracket notation. Yeah, bracket notation is great for quickly navigating around, arrays and stuff and objects. Not adhering to coding conventions like const x equals use state taco. Don't destructure the use state return. Bloodborne is another great game to add to the docket. I have actually played Bloodborne. That's that Souls like game, right? I have it on PlayStation 4, and it was too hard for me. Wait, no, I don't have Bloodborne. I have the other one. Wait, is it Bloodborne? I'm getting confused. What's the one where you're in like a gothic? All right, all you game nerds in chat, help me out. What's the one where you're in like a gothic environment? It's a Souls-like game. It's by FromSoft. Um, is it Bloodborne? I'm getting confused. And it's from a few years ago. Like it's from like 6 or 7 years ago. Bloodborne. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I have played it. It was too hard. Yeah, PS4. Yeah, I have a PS4. Yep, played it too hard. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I couldn't get past like the first boss. So feel free to dunk on me for that. But yeah, I couldn't get past the first boss. I did have fun though, as far as I got. Oh, you play the bagpipes, Matthias. That's awesome. What's the one other one from FromSoft that just came out recently? That's why I was getting confused. It's the other one that just came out in the last few years. Help me out. Oh yeah, they did release Armored Core. Yeah, I have thought about playing that too. A newer one is okay. So the new one is Elden Ring, and the one from a few years ago is Bloodborne. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Elden Ring is the newer one, and the one from a few years ago, like, yeah, the gothic one is Bloodborne. Okay, got it. I like watching. I do like watching speed runs though. I like watching like AG. I just watched AGDQ yesterday. A little bit of that. I didn't catch most of it, but I did catch the end of AGDQ, and that was super fun. Um, I like watching other people be really good at games like Bloodborne because I know I will never be. I just don't have the reaction time to get that. But too poor to avoid game. That's fine. What I like doing, Matthias, is I don't ever buy games for full price. I'm a very patient gamer, so I buy things that were released 5 years ago, like for the first time. Um, and what I also do is I look for like indie sales, so sales on indie games. That's partially why I like indie games so much because they're cheap. So you can get an excellent game for like $2, right? Um, it doesn't, or maybe $20 at the most, and so you can really, I don't know, get a lot of bang for your buck from a lot of really cool indie titles. Especially if you're okay with 2D gaming, like classic 2D stuff, you can get so many cheap games that are great. GDQ just did Satisfactory in like 17 minutes. Wow, I'm gonna have to watch that one. Oh, Elden Ring is more friendly to slower play styles. Okay, good to know. I'm gonna have to try it then eventually when I get through my backlog. Yeah, I saw they did a Baldur's on AGDQ this year. They did a Baldur's Gate run in like 20 minutes or like 30 minutes. Like literally all of Baldur's Gate I think was in 30 minutes with like, and that was with commentary. So like they were stopping to talk and explain what they were doing. And not only that, but they and then they did like a dev room showcase, which was really cool. Yeah, and that's the other thing I was going to mention all too swift was that if you want to play cool games and you're not really sure like what indie games to get or how to pick, you can just do something like a Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle is a charity, well, it's a charity drive, and they take a bunch of really cool games, they bundle them together, and they'll give you like 20 games for $20 or something like that, and they're good games too. Usually it'll be like 3 games you've probably heard of, and then a bunch of other ones that you've never heard of, which but that are pretty good in themselves. So Humble Bundle is also great. I love them. They're great for books too, if you want to buy books. Brother says, "What's everyone's Hogwarts house? Mine back in the day was Ravenclaw." Strain says, "Been subscribed to Humble Monthly for a couple years now. Cheapest way to get tons of indie games that I want to play." Yeah, totally. I don't subscribe to them, but I do buy like the bundles a la carte. Like they had a Terry Pratchett. So if you like Terry Pratchett, the author, um, they have a Terry Pratchett bundle right now where you get like 20 Terry Pratchett books, ebooks, um, for $18. So if you like Terry Pratchett, go for it right now. A few months ago, I actually got a programming book bundle. So O'Reilly books, if you're familiar with coding books, O'Reilly is like one of the biggest publishers in high quality coding guides and guides on theory and coding and stuff like that. I got like 20 O'Reilly books for like a ridiculously low price, less than $30. Oh yeah, Discworld is great. Yeah, I love Sir Terry. Yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly. As an O'Reilly bundle, they give you all the books are DRM free, right? Like no copyright. I just downloaded them as PDFs. You can read them wherever you want. So yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, check out Humble Bundle if you want cheap books, cheap software, and also if you are like a game developer, if anybody out there is building their own games, they also do a lot of bundles of assets. So Unity assets, Unreal Engine stuff, uh, you know, sound packages, graphics packages, um, all sprite packages, all those sorts of things. They often have a lot of those bundles going as well. Yep, sound assets, exactly. Yeah, if you're producing music or building games or whatever, totally worth it in my opinion. And it goes to charity too. So, yep. I hope you can too, Matthias. Yeah. Leo says, "Do you like dancing, running, or kickboxing, chess?" I do play chess. Yeah. I play chess.com on my phone usually. Like the lowest common denominator of chess is playing chess on your phone. Yeah, but that's usually where I play. I like puzzles, New York Times puzzles. I play puzzle games on my phone all the time. So it's a great way to kind of keep your brain working and engaged. Even if you don't feel like coding, you can do some puzzles, right? Um, I used to like to run. Unfortunately, I've got some issues with my knees, so I'm trying to get back into running. I used to do half marathons. I don't anymore. I do a lot of walking though. I walk a lot with my dog, especially because he likes to walk. So that means I like to walk. Yeah, let's see. What's the most recent book you've read? Um, oh, I read a great book, and actually, hey, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get the book. It's great. Hang on. It's over here. Okay, this is the book. It's probably backwards. Here, hang on. I'm gonna flip the view here. This is the book. It's called Made in America by Bill Bryson. Hopefully that's right side around now. Yeah, and essentially what it's a deep guide into the etymology or the history of words and the structure of the specific version of English that we speak in the USA. Right? We all know that there's a like that British English or Australian English is different from American English. We have different words, we have different accents, different pronunciations. We have the same word that means different things in various dialects of English. Right? We can say chips. If I say chips in the US, it means something different than what it means in the UK. Yeah, and it's a great book. And what he does is he essentially goes through the entire history of the United States and he talks about how the language that the first people who came to the US, the language that they spoke, has evolved into how Americans speak today. And it's just an exhaustive history. And I love words. I love words. I love the history of words. I love the etymology of words. It's great. And so that book is right up my alley. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it basically is applied linguistics, but he does it in such a comical and fun way. What I was amazed to read about was how many words we Americans use that are derived from Native American words. So the native peoples that lived here in the United States, and then of course the Europeans came in and did what they did. Um, but we have incorporated so many words from them that I didn't even realize. For example, the word raccoon, right? Raccoons are basically an animal that is fairly unique to North America. It's not, it doesn't really exist. I don't think it exists in Europe. Do y'all have raccoons? Europeans out there, help me out. Do you have raccoons? Trash Panda. Yeah. The name of the book is Made in America, and it's by Bill Bryson. Europeans, I need to know. Do you have raccoons? No European. There's no Europeans left. They're all in bed. It's really late. There's no Europeans left in the chat. I'll have to Google it. Yeah, it is really late in Europe right now, I'm sure. But anyway, because yeah, I think it's like 11 p.m. in the UK right now. But yeah, so so yeah, the word raccoon. Anyway, the word raccoon is a Native American word, um, and there's so many words that we have that are Native American words that we basically simplified and made it so that Europeans could pronounce them. These all these people coming in on boats, from Europe, made it so that they could pronounce them, and simplified and turned these beautiful native languages into very simplified versions. But anyway, that was so far, that's been the coolest part for me. Um, and all these sayings that we have that like nobody really knows the origin of. I just love it. It's so cool. I could talk about this for forever. Don't get me started. Yeah, okay, so raccoons didn't exist in Europe until the mid 20th century, right? Yeah, so they were a native animal to the Americas. Um, Makes sense. Yeah, and it's considered an invasive in Europe. I don't doubt that. Raccoons are just highly intelligent. They have thumbs, so they can get into anything. I had a raccoon in my backyard that was opening up. I had my bird seed in a metal trash can, and it was smart enough. It could actually yank the top off the trash can and get down in there and just eat all my bird seed. But yeah, anyway, read this book, Made in America by Bill Bryson. It's amazing. I love it. All right. Dave in DC says, "Hi, Mindwolf. I'm trying to build my first app that combines Express and React. Any advice? Any of your videos that you could link for me? I have tons of videos building apps in React. If you head over to my YouTube channel, do exclamation point YouTube in chat if you need a link to that. Head over there, and on the channel page in the search box, just type React, and you'll get lots of videos. You'll get introductions to React. You'll get ones where we build full stack React apps. I think you'll have tons of choices to choose from if you want a little help getting a React app spun up. Yes, and pigeons are, yep, they're an introduced species as well. Yeah, well, the same thing happened, Matthias. The thing happened in reverse here in the US. Somebody brought over, I think it was starlings, the type of bird, the starling. They didn't exist in the US until some rich guy went over and like released 20 of them in a park, and then now they're everywhere. They're like the majority of the birds in my backyard are starlings. Yeah, raccoons are always able to find a way into whatever. Eventually, to make the raccoons stop eating my birdseed, I had to I had to literally take a big paving stone and just put it on top of the trash can lid. And then that's the only way to keep him out because he was a big raccoon. Yeah, no worries, Dave. Hope that helps you. All right, last time for last questions. Otherwise, we're going to kind of queue up for a raid here. Oh yeah, starling murmurations. Those big swarms of starlings are really cool. They're super fun to watch. They're a horribly invasive species, but their swarms are really cool. Kitten season when? I hope soon. It's been literally like negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit here for the past week. So there ain't none of that happening right now. But come spring, yeah. All right, I got to find that person we are supposed to be rating. Hang on. I got to scroll up in chat. Blind cat. Okay. Hopefully they're still on. Negative 12C in Germany. What is that? What does that equate to in Fahrenheit? I apologize. Ignorant American here. Somebody do a conversion. Celsius to, I can't even spell Fahrenheit. What is it? Negative 12C? Okay, 10 degrees. So yeah, it's been, and I'll do the reverse conversion. It's been negative 20 Fahrenheit. So negative 29 Celsius here for the past like week. Yeah. So it's been if you're it's been negative 20 Fahrenheit, and it's so that's yeah negative 29 C. So it's been cold, but it's gonna warm up. It's gonna warm up tomorrow. It should finally be above freezing tomorrow, which is nice. All right. Anyway, let's find 24 C or F. Copper Lily. I don't know anymore. Freedom unit. Yeah, it's freedom units, right? We use imperial measurements, and we use Fahrenheit over here in America because we're the best, right? Not really, but because we got to be special. I really wish I was better at metric. Honestly, metric makes so much more sense than imperial does. But I grew up with imperial, so that's what's like. If you told me like okay a foot or I don't know, a quarter mile or an inch. Like I know I have mental pictures of what those are, but if you told me like I don't know, kilometer, I have no idea. Unfortunately, I wish I did. I wish I had a better mental image. Like I've taught myself 24-hour clock. Like I use that now instead of the 12-hour clock that we use here in the U.S. I've switched to 24-hour clock because that does make sense. But oh yeah, I know it's technically fine that I don't know those things because everybody caters to the U.S. imperial and Fahrenheit, but I wish I had a better mental image of it. All right, I'm very. Many people are not good at imperial. Well, I'm saying like I'm not good. I don't know metric, so I know imperial, but I don't know metric. All right, hang on. We're getting there. All right. So let's see if this person is online. So earlier, for those of you who didn't know, we were asked to rate a specific person today. They're doing game development, and this is their third stream ever. So apparently, this is only the third stream they've ever done. So I'm hoping we can rate them and give them a good introduction. Yeah, great. Okay, so they are on right now. They've got 12 viewers at the moment. They're working on their game. Yeah. Yeah, so they're working on their game right now. So let's go ahead and give them a nice positive introduction to chat, or to chat and to Twitch in general. I think you guys are the best possible folks I could send their way because I know you guys are wholesome, you guys are positive, you guys are great. You've been great this whole stream. So go in there, show them some love, give them some follows, and help support their game development. And real quick note, I will not be streaming next weekend. I'm going to a play with my mom. For Christmas, I got her tickets to a play that she wanted to see, and so we're going to be going to that together next weekend. But I'll be back on with y'all the following weekend. So we'll take a quick pause next weekend, and then we'll be back on the following weekend. Next week, I'm going to be releasing some new videos onto my YouTube channel. So follow my YouTube, follow my Twitter. I will be giving updates there. ! Twitter. If you want to link to my Twitter to follow me, that's where I give updates on my stream. I give updates when I add stuff to my YouTube channel. So please do follow me there. And I will see you all in 2 weeks. All right, raid is starting now. No worries. Great to see you all. Raid is starting. All right, see you all in a couple weeks. Raid 3, 2, 1, and raiding now. Bye-bye.